Welcome to the workshop of the Regions for Permed project, Innovation Flow into in the healthcare. We are in from Santiago de Compostela in the headquarters of the Galician Health Knowledge Agency, ACIS. ACIS is the public body of the Galician Health Service that has all the policies related with research, innovation, training of health professionals, and also technology assessment. This workshop was expected to have it in person, but unfortunately, due to COVID-19 reasons, we have to hold it virtually. The aim of the core of these workshops is to deepen knowledge the topic of the previous conference that we held before summer. The structure of these workshops consists on 2 days. The first day today that we will have a showcase of best practices related to the topic, and the second day tomorrow we will have it a virtual in situ visit to the facilities of the Living Lab of Orense. The topics that we are going to present are in the best practices in the field of research and innovation models, funnels and instruments to boost innovation, and smart and future hospitals. But before starting the workshop, let me present the person who will be the moderator of the workshop, the project manager of the Regions for Permed project in ACIS, Ana Cajaraville, that she will explain how to make questions and all these practical things.
Thank you so much, Jose. It's a pleasure to be here. And if you have any question, please send us via Slido. You will find the Slido link in YouTube webpage in the chat, and you can send us the questions via Q&R in at the bottom of this conference, and just type the code in the Slido platform, and we will read your questions during the workshop. Thank you so much. Your floor, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Anna. Before starting the first topic, that is the Galician strategy of personalized medicine, I would like to give the floor to the project coordinator of the Regions for Permed project, Gianni De Rico from the Toscana, that he will give a short introduction about the project and the outcomes of the project. Thank you, Gianni. The floor is yours.
Thanks. Thank you very much, Jose, and good morning, everyone. My name is Gianni De Rico, and I'm the project coordinator of Regions for Permed. I'm trying to share my slides. Let me know when you can see it. See it?
Yes, put it on the screen, please. Gianni, please, full screen.
Anna, can you confirm that you can see my screen?
Well, we see on PowerPoint format. It's okay because we can see that.
It says that I'm sharing my screen, so just let me know if I can proceed.
Yeah, just 1 second. Yes, because did you click on full screen, or because we cannot see full screen? We see the PowerPoint view.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, perfect. Now, perfect.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. Regions for Permed is the acronym of Interregional Coordination for a Fast and Deep Uptake of Personalized Health. It's a consortium of 5 European regions and 1 medical university, the Wrocław Medical University. Regions for Permed has a specific focus, which are regions. When we started working in the life science sector as a policymaker or as a funding agency, and we started cooperating at the European international level and about personalized medicine, we realized that there was let's say, a missing link in all these European strategies and national strategies, which was the role of regions. Like regions were most of the time were not involved in these programs. But regions on the other side play an important roles in delivering health services and in delivering health benefits to patients and citizens in Europe. They are responsible, the European regions are responsible for 50% of public investment in Europe. They receive 20 and reinvest 25% of tax revenues, and they are the major public employer. So this led us to understand which kind of role European regions could play on personalized medicine. And this is the reason why we formed this consortium of 5 European regions, and we decided to submit an application that then became a European project. Before I go into the details of the project, let me show you what is the, let's say, the ecosystem of personalized medicine at the European level. Everything started with the International Consortium on Personalized Medicine, which is the main policy maker at European level on personalized medicine. And then the European Commission created the ERA permit, which is the funding, let's say, the funding branch, the funding body on personalized medicine in Europe. There are over 30 funding agencies that every year jointly fund personalized medicine in Europe, but also beyond Europe, because there's Canada, South America, and other countries, even China now has been involved in these activities. Then we received the grant from the European Commission to develop regions for PERMED. We also are coordinator of, we are partners of another project which is called the SINO-EU PERMED, which actually is coordinated by Germany, and it has as a main goal the relationship between Europe and China on personalized medicine. And those are like all around. We see the other strategic initiatives which are linked to our project, in particular the Human Genome Declaration and the Smart Specialization Platform for industrial modernization. So far, we are part of a big family, and we are very proud of this. And this is called the Personalized Medicine family, which has been composed by different CSAs, which are Coordination and Support Action, and other European initiatives. Why we are like, when we submitted the project, we were optimistic on our about our view, because if we go on the Smart Specialization Strategy database, we can see that personalized medicine has already been selected as a priority in different European regions. But when we did a deeper study and a deeper analysis, we realized that personalized medicine was conceived in very different way in each region. So this also gave us some background information on which should be the main goals and the main objectives of Regions for PERMED, which are the following. What we want to do with the Regions for PERMED is to coordinate regional policy innovation programs in personalized medicine. We want to strengthen the industrial specialization areas in Europe and allow personalized medicine to flourish as an emerging industry. We need to enable interregional joint investments on personalized medicine, and also we want to provide guidance to the European Commission and the regions and member states on how to shape the next structural funds operational programs. Specifically, how we want to reach the major objectives, we organize, and this is part of these activities, we organize technical dialogue between regions around 5 key strategic areas. We provide a final action plan of strategic investments. We have established a hub of European initiatives and partnership on personalized medicine. And we release guidelines at the end of each key strategic area. We release guidelines to regional authorities on how personalized medicine can boost local economies. We talked about 5 key strategic areas. And these are the 5 areas around which we have organized the work of Regions for PERMED. First, we tackled the issue or the challenge of big data, electronic health records, and healthcare governance. Then we start working on health technology and integrated care. Then we moved, because we realized that the role of industry and the public-private partnership are an essential factor. So we moved on a personalized health industry, and today we are discussing the innovation flow in healthcare. And the last step of the project will be to tackle social and health economics aspects. How we organize the technical dialogue. When we, around each thematic area, like big data, health industry, and now innovation flow in healthcare, we first prepare a position paper or a rationale. Then we organize around the main challenges that we highlight in this rationale. We organize an interregional conference, technical conference, where we invite experts to discuss and tell us which are the main issues that needs to be tackled. And then we transfer this knowledge in workshops, when we discuss with the policymakers and the regional representatives, regional policymakers and the regional representatives on how to tackle the challenges that we have highlighted in the conference. And then we have in-situ visits. We have also some additional desk research to implement the bulk of knowledge that we have raised we had with the conference and the workshop. And at the end, we have a report. We publish a report which contains policy recommendation for European, national, and regional policymaker, our research and development investments recommendation, and also provide best practices and innovative models gathered through the network of regions that we have established. So these are the 4 steps of our policy dialogue: conference, workshop, capacity building, and in-situ visits. So far, these are the main outcomes that we have reached. We had a kickoff conference in Milan in 2018, at the end of 2018, where we had over 500 participants from over 30 countries, and all the main European institutions were represented. The European Commission, the European Investment Funds, European Investment Bank were there, and they were brainstorming with us. And there is also a report which is published and can be downloaded from our website. Then we had the first report, the first strategic areas. We had the conference and the workshop both in Milan, because Lombardy region and the Lombardy Foundation for Biomedical Research were coordinator of this task. Here we had over 150 participants from over 30 regions, and the report has been released last year. Then we had health technology and integrated care conference and workshop. The report is going to be published in the next couple of weeks. The personalized health industry, also we tackled the conference, the workshop, and also the report will be ready by the end of the year. Our partners from Germany is working on it. These are the interregional committee. These are the regions that not only are part of our project, but also have joined in this body to provide us further guidance and to dialogue with us and provide support to the project. Last but not least, we also are organizing a conference at the European Parliament with the members of the European Parliament, members of the European Commission, members of the Committee of Regions, in order to increase the commitment of regions, not only on personalized medicine in general, but also on the next European Partnership on Personalized Medicine, which is supposed to start at the beginning of 2023. We do not disregard, or we take very seriously also the scientific dialogue. So we have a series of scientific publication that we have managed to publish so far on each aspect, on the different aspects that we have tackled with the project. And of course, if we have been successful to do this, it's also thanks to our advisory board, which is constantly supporting us in not only shaping the rationale and shaping the overview of each strategic area, but also provide us important feedbacks when we decide to submit scientific papers. And with this, I would like to thank once again the members of the consortium, the organizers, the ASIS, Ana, and the ASIS member, Ana, and Jose, for organizing this workshop, and of course, the other project partners and the members of the advisory board. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Yanni. With this, I think it was clear the overview of the Regions for Permit project. Now, before starting with the first topic, I'm going to give a short explanation about what is Galicia, Galicia region, and the Galician Health Service. We are trying to upload the PowerPoint presentation. Yeah. Okay. Well, I would like to give a brief overview about Galicia and about the Galician Health Service and also the Galician Health Knowledge Agency and our main pillars regards innovation. Well, Galicia is a region in the northwest of Spain. We have a total population of 2.7 million of inhabitants, and we face a problem of aging, because nowadays 22.5% of the population in Galicia is over 65. We also face another difficulty, that is that we have 3,775 locations. That makes a lot of difficulties in communication. The Galician healthcare system, the public healthcare system, is divided on the Conselleria de Sanidade, that is the Galician Health Ministry. We have to mention that Spain it's a decentralized system where the regions have the policies mainly related with health and education. Well, so belonging the Galician Health Ministry, we have the Galician Health Service, Servicio Galego de Saúde, that is the public health care provider, and we have another public agencies related with health, such as the Health Knowledge Agency. It's important to mention that the Galician Health Service is divided into seven health areas that corresponds to with each main cities of Galicia. Coruña, Santiago, Pontevedra, Vigo, Ferrol, Lugo, and Ourense. Some figures about the Galician Health Service. The Galician Health Service has 14 hospitals, 500 primary care centers, 90 emergency centers, and more than 36,000 healthcare professionals, and approximately 7,700 practitioners. To see the dimension of the Galician Health Service, it's important to mention that that the budget of, well, it was the previous year, 2020, was more than 44,000 millions of euros. That represents more than 40% of the total Galician public budget. And in 1 year at Sergas, at the Galician Health Service, we have 25 million of primary visits, 4 million of hospital visits, more than 170 surgical interventions, 1 million emergency care, and 67 e-prescriptions at pharmacies. The Galician Health Knowledge Agency, ACIS. Well, ACIS is the Galician public health system instrument used to optimally disseminate knowledge since the time it emerged until it is transferred to the society. To achieve this, it includes the following and the same value chain: health research, health innovation, technology assessment, and training for healthcare professionals. The aim of ACIS is to promote, revitalize, and support the relationships among research centers, the business sectors, and supportive stakeholders in order to guarantee that knowledge is suitable, disseminated, and it is maximized for patients in the market. Here in this chart, we can see some of our main agents and stakeholders, such as the Galician Health Cluster, the Biomedical Health Cluster, also the Public Foundation, and also the Public Institute of Health Research, and another agents such as the Galician Health Innovation, the Galician Innovation Agency, and another, or the university, of course. Well, the main pillars of the Galician healthcare system. Well, we have, and it's important to mention, that we have one of the most powerful electronic health record systems in Europe. Also, Sergas is leading in public procurement of innovation, and the aging population are on the top of the Galician priorities. On the last call, of the EIP-ONAHA network, that it was in 2019, Galicia got 4 stars out of 4 as reference site region in the framework of the EIP-ONAHA network. And some of the projects that are our pillars as regards the innovation. As I mentioned before, the public procurement of innovation is one of our main strategic pillars. And the first 2 projects that we had, it was in 2012, that it was Hospital 2050 and Innova Saudit with a total budget of more than 90 million euros. Then, after these 2 projects, we have the Código 100, Code 100, that it was a health innovation plan related with aging, with a total budget of 13 million euros. And now we are running 2 new projects. One is Innova Trial, with a budget of a PCP project related with health clinical essays with a budget of 12 million euros, and the first PCP project that it's run by a health area, in this case, that is the area of Coruña, that is called Innova Microlab, with a total budget of 5.7 million euros. And now, to give an introduction of the Galician strategy of personalized medicine, I'm going to pass to a video where we can see what we are doing on the field of personalized medicine.
The Galician Health Service is characterized by being at the forefront of healthcare innovation. That is why the incorporation of personalized medicine began 2 decades ago in Galicia. The Sergas has been a benchmark in Spain in the implementation of the integrated electronic medical record and electronic prescription system, which are the basis for the knowledge of the personal factors of each patient. Since 1998, the Galician Public Foundation for Genomic Medicine has been the only institution in Spain that performs integrated genomic medicine for an entire public health system, Galicia's. Its director coordinates the genomic medicine axis of the IMPACT program, which is the structural basis for the development of precision medicine in Spain. The Sergas is setting up an immunotherapy manufacturing center. Its first project is the production of a new CAR-T drug, which trains the patient's immune system to attack cancer cells. Thanks to the intense activity of the 3 Galician Health Research Institutes, new advances in personalized medicine will be incorporated into the Sergas healthcare system. One example is the joint Roche-CHUS unit, which is making progress in the design of precision cancer treatments for breast and prostate cancer. Galicia is also a pioneer in public procurement for innovation for the development of new healthcare solutions, an area in which precision medicine has been present from the beginning. The SERGAS is working on a strategy for personalized medicine and cell therapies that will enable the incorporation of prevention, diagnosis and treatment programs adapted to the profile of each patient. The aim is to strengthen the focus on what is most important in our public health system, the people.
An example of what we are doing in the field of personalized medicine is the topic of our first speaker, Mariona Baliu-Piqué, that she's already here. She's PhD in transnational immunology with background in biomedical science and biotechnology. Mariona is the director of cellular therapy section at Galaria, that is the Galician public company of the Galician Health Service. And she's working on the creation and the startup of a manufacturing and research center for academic CAR T cells and other advanced cellular immunotherapies in Galicia. Thank you very much, Mariona, to have you on board, and the floor is yours with your presentation.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I will just start sharing my screen. Let me know if it's working. So is it there?
Yes, it's there.
Yeah. Hi. So first of all, I would like to thank the organizer for having me here. It's a really big honor. And yeah, as you said in your kind introduction, my name is Mariona Baliu-Piqué, and today I would like to introduce you to the Galician Immunotherapy Manufacturing Center. As we already saw in the video, the Galician Health Service is at the forefront of healthcare innovation and has a long history in personalized medicine. Its path in personalized medicine began with the implementation of a centralized molecular diagnosis center more than 20 years ago. This center, the Fundación Pública Gallega de Medicina Genómica, is the only institution in Spain to perform genomic medicine in an integrated way for the entire regional public health system of Galicia. To continue at the vanguard of healthcare innovation, the Galician Health Service has decided to build a centralized manufacturing center for cellular immunotherapies for the whole region. This center, the Galician Immunotherapy Manufacturing Center, it's going to be an own center of the Galician Health Service. It will be of 100% public nature, and it already has an initial investment of more than 3 million euros. The center is located in Santiago de Compostela within the Campus Vida. Campus Vida is the campus of the University of Santiago de Compostela. This is a strategic location in Galicia because Santiago de Compostela is in the center of the region, and this will allow us to provide the products we manufacture in the center and distribute it to the different and the main hospitals in the region, namely to the hospital in A Coruña, to the hospital in Santiago de Compostela, and to the hospital in Vigo. The center has several facilities. It counts with 200 square meters of clean rooms. It already has approximately 150 square meters of laboratories, which are mainly destined to quality control testing of the products that we will manufacture. It has 100 square meters of warehouses. It also has offices and auxiliary areas, and it has 400 square meters of technical areas where all the specialized equipment will be located. If we zoom a little bit into the clean rooms, I want to show you how we have it distributed. We have 4 Grade B clean rooms, which will be designated for culture media conditioning and to produce cell therapies in an open system. And we also have 2 rooms which will be closed at the beginning, but will be open for future productions. And we also have 2 Grade D areas which will be designated for CAR T cell production, which will be performed in a closed system. Each section, both the Grade B and the Grade D area, will have a clean warehouse to provide for the products to the clean rooms, and a designated gowning room. Moreover, in this clean room section, we will have the quality control laboratory for cell culture, and we also have a designated area for simulation. In this area, what we will do will be to do the translation from basic procedures in the laboratory into GMP manufacturing procedures. This center will have an orientation both in the clinical activity and in the research activity. So in the clinical activity, we will be focused in the production of ATMPs. We will promote the development of new clinical trials. And our main goal is to facilitate the population access to new therapies that will be produced in the center. And we will have also a huge research activity within the center, because we will have available laboratories and equipment for the researchers in the Galicia area and also in Spain. In the center, there will be the participation of hospitals, universities, research foundations, and institutes. It will allow the incorporation of researchers in a field of high scientific and health interest. And most importantly, it will promote the development of cutting-edge technology in Galicia. So as you already said in your introduction, in the first years, what we would like to do is to produce 1 to 2 academic CAR T-cell drugs in the framework of clinical trials. And these drugs that we will produce will be designed by other organizations, because we are really young in this field, and we will work through collaboration and knowledge transfer agreements with other organizations in order to be able to produce these new CAR T-cell drugs. In the medium long term, we expect to produce academic CAR T-cells of own design. These will be linked to the establishment of a research unit in CAR T-cells and advanced cellular immunotherapies in Galicia. And moreover, we also aim at producing other advanced cellular immunotherapies. We already did the first step in this path, and we now establish a collaboration with the Hospital Clínic de Barcelona and IDIBAPS in order to start a new clinical trial with a new CAR T-cell drug, which we expect to begin in 2022. In the research activity, our main goal is to create a cellular immunotherapy research unit in the autonomous community of Galicia, with the purpose to mobilize the execution of cooperative research projects, including spacey resources and scientific vision, to bring together different research groups and research lines and research interests, to allow for joint concurrence in competitive calls to increase the funding opportunities, and to facilitate the development, the testing, and the validation of new drugs in experimental research. Finally, we really think it's also really important to establish collaborations with other centers in Spain, Europe, and also worldwide, because we really believe that this will help us shorten the development times of new products. It will strengthen our position in competitive calls, and moreover, it will also reduce the recruitment times in clinical trials, which is really important. So with that, I would just like to thank you for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mariona. Well, I have just one question. Well, I guess the strategic alliance with the Hospital Clínic of Barcelona is one of the most important, or at least is an important milestone of the CAR-T project here in Galicia. Could you tell us a little bit more about, well, the relevance of the Hospital Clínic of Barcelona in Spain, or at national level, or even at the European level, and how and why is so important this first step?
Yeah, so the Hospital Clínic de Barcelona is the first hospital in Europe that has his own CAR T-cell produced, which has already been approved by the Agencia Española del Medicamento y Productos Sanitarios. This means that they already did the first clinical trial with this product. They prove their safety and also their efficacy in patients, and now they can use it in patients, and it's included in the health system of Spain to treat patients. So they really have a big knowledge in CAR T-cell treatment. So for us, it will be really a very important partner in the beginning, because we will be able to learn not only how to produce these therapies, but also how to deal with the patients, because of course patients treated with these new therapies, with live therapies, it's not like the follow-up of the patient is not regular. So for us, I think it will be really a way of learning from a hospital which is really at the top of this new field. So for us, it's as you said, a really important step, and we are really happy to begin with them together.
Yeah, I don't know if you could tell us a little bit more after the agreement of the signature of the agreement. What are the next steps regards this project? Or
so we are just going to start a new clinical trial with a new CAR T-cell drug. So the CAR will be a dual CAR, which will target 2 targets on the tumor. So this is a new strategy that has not been tested yet. So the first thing is to present all the preclinical data and all the regulatory requirements to the agency in Spain, to see if the clinical trial with the data we have now and as we propose it is suitable to be performed. So we are now working on these documents, which we will and we will have the first interview with the regulatory agency hopefully in December 2022. So upon their feedback, we will keep working and just finalizing the small pieces that we need to fix in order to fulfill all the requirements. And hopefully, once we get the approval, we will be able to start treating the patients. We have a plan, like the clinical trial will be divided in 2 steps. In the first step, because they have the knowledge and they really have all the experience behind. So the first, let's say 3 patients, we believe that will be treated and produced in Barcelona, just because they already have like the experience, as I said. And hopefully if these 3 patients work well, we will just start producing in Santiago in the new center, and also administering the CAR T-cell in the Hospital of Santiago. So this is a little bit the timeline of the project.
It is a very interesting project, and also a very strategic project for the entire Galician health system. So, well, I would like that that you and your team will keep us date of the progress of the CAR T project, and of course we will invite you to the next conference and workshops in the framework of the Regions for Permanent project. So thank you very much, Mariona. Well, now I will give the floor to Ana, who will start the moderation of the first session of the workshop.
Thank you, Jose. Firstly, I want to acknowledge to Mariona for this starting part of this workshop, and remind you that if you want to send any question, just send it via Slido using the link that is in our YouTube channel chat. And now we will start with our first session of the workshop, that is about research and innovation models to boost innovation. I am happy to present our first speaker of this session, that who will show us one of the genomic medicine initiatives led by the Navarra Biomed, which is the Biomedical Research Institute in Navarra. And the objective of this project is to transfer the use of the whole human genome analysis to Navarra's public health care system. Professor Ángel Alonso is the Chief Scientific Officer of the Navarra Strategy on Personalized Medicine, and one of the advisors to the Spanish Senate on the National Strategy on Genomic Medicine. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation. The floor is yours, Professor Alonso.
Thank you, Anna, and good morning, everyone. So I would like to share my screen.
Yes, please. Full screen, please.
Yeah.
Can Can you share? Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. I would like to start by thanking the organizers for this opportunity to explain our experience. So I am Angel Alonso. So I'm a clinical geneticist by background and has been involved in several pilot projects on research and innovation on implementation on genomics into the healthcare. And have ended up by being the Chief Scientific Officer of the Navarra Government Strategy on Personalized Medicine. So I would like to start by giving you some context of all the experience in Navarra. So the first one, so you are all very well aware that in the last year, the Human Genome Project completed the decoding of the whole human genome and found that within our genome there are very useful information for medicine, for diagnosing of genetic diseases, and by knowing the genetic cause of a condition, we could develop new drugs and reuse drugs that you have already in use to treat these conditions. But also in the human genome, we could find that there are some variants related to the risk that we have to have severe conditions in the future, and also the risk that we have of having affected children. And at the same level, in the human genome, we could find that there are some variants which are responsible for the pharmacogenomic response and are useful for the stratification of patients for care management. So all this information is in our genome. So, but we needed a second point to be able to decode it, and this was by the improvement of the sequencing machines and means and methods, which made it possible that we can now sequence one human genome in less than, I would say, 2 hours for less than 1,000 euros. At the same time, we have been able to develop the storage and computing capacities to process.
Claro, sí, el tema.
I'm listening. Someone else? Yeah. 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 So we also have the development of the technological capacities for storing and processing genomic information. So with all this in mind, we proposed the one pilot project, which was called a Nudging project. Are you listening to me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so, perfectly, sorry.
Yeah. So this is a project, a pilot project to bring all the advantages of the genomic medicine into the healthcare. So first, we were well aware of our limitation and barriers. So we are a very small region in the north of Spain, no more than 600,000 people living here. So we did not have a high throughput genome sequence facility, nor have we a bioinformatic platforms. No, at the very beginning of the project, we did not have adequate infrastructure to storage the genomic data or supercomputing facilities to process the information, the genomic information. We did not have an adequate ethical and legal framework, and the education of our workforce was limited and have a resistance to the change of the routine medical practice. So the aim of the first project, the NAGEN 1000 project, was the implementation of the use of the information from the whole genome sequence, that is, the whole information in the genome, not only parts of it, but the whole sequence, as a clinical tool for the implementation of personalized medicine in Navarra. That actually is bringing the highest technology in sequencing to the bedside of our patients by using our standard healthcare workforce. And we selected to do this by recruiting 1,000 patients with rare diseases from more than 200 different rare diseases catalog, and all these patients has gone through a route of several tests trying to find the diagnosis without accomplishing this. So the methods, we first took the sample to do the whole genome sequences analysis, and at the same time got all the information and from the phenotypic of the patient and coded it as HPO features. All these two information, we were able to combine this to obtain a diagnosis about the first question, which is what is the cause of the genetic condition of this patient. But some points, and when this was done, this could be returned into the clinical practice through a report. So, but for some patients, we did not have a diagnosis, so we decided to bring that to the research programs and trying to find functional actions for this. So apart from this pertinent findings, trying to find the genetic cause of the condition, we're trying to exploit all the information in the genome by finding the secondary findings in the disease risk and reproductive risk, and also in pharmacogenetics. So some of the main results of the project is that in terms of primary results, we were able to identify the cause of the condition in the patient in more than one third of the patients, and we were able to have a strong candidate for the diagnosis in the patients for 1/4 more of the patients. I must stress that all these patients has been through the route of several genetic testing for years and years without finding the results. But in terms of secondary results, we found that more than 2% of the participants were predisposed to have a severe genetic condition without knowing it. And it was possible to put in action some clinical actions to improve the results of this condition. So we did also want to know about some health economic data. Is this a valuable approach? And we found that we were able to reduce the time waiting for the diagnosis in the patients in our series for 6 months, only 6 months in 36% of the patient, instead of more than 10 years that most of the patients has been waiting for our results in our series. And in terms of money, we found that doing whole genome sequencing as a first approach in every patient who has a genetic condition suspected will reduce by 1/4 the cost of the genetic analysis in our experience. But when it comes to rare diseases, it is not only important to know about the cost of the improvement, but it is also very important to know how important it is to patients to know and to have their diagnosis. And this was done by asking the patients if they thought that the service they have received by sequencing the genome was more valuable than the actual cost, and 2/3 of the patients were decided to value the cost of the service well over the actual cost of the patients. And what is more important, 2/3 of them were happy to pay that cost from their own pocket if the service were not covered by the health system. And it was regardless of if the project has found the diagnosis in the relative. All these we were able to overcome our main barriers in our location, and we decided to go through what we call the nudging scheme, finding 5 additional pilot projects on different applications on genomic medicine. And these were by the preemptive testing of pharmacogenomic driven prescription, Also, we had another pilot related to hypercholesterolemia genomic personalized management. We decided to bring to the action one very interesting project on pediatric and neonatal intensive care units, giving the genomic diagnosis of the whole genome sequencing in less than 2 weeks for these patients. And finally, the last one is related to population breast screening. So, although the figures in the number of patients recruited and probably the investment is quite modest, if you have into account that we are very small population, I mean, we are not more than 600,000 population. So the investment of the Navarra government in this NAGENE scheme is I would say one of the most important across Europe in the whole continent. So because of this reason, so the Navarra government decided to launch in 2019 the Navarra strategy on personalized medicine. So the basis on that is very clear. So it has been a very important technology improvement, which has been able to bring into the clinic through pilots. And by doing these pilots in the clinic, we have been able to collect real world data of how all this is working in the clinic. And with all real world data, we have new data to have a new research hypothesis and bring it to the research and innovation system. But by doing all these two cycles, we could use the data produced in the clinic and in the research to be producing and proposing new drugs, new treatments, and new diagnosis elements to produce a new industry in our region. So the Navarra strategy in personalized medicine would like to bring together all these three cycles. So it is by this reason that the Navarra government decided to bring the interest of the three departments, that is the health ministry, and also the research and innovation ministry, and also the economic development department. And we have these three strategic areas: health, research and innovation, and economic development, and four additional axes for the three areas, which are infrastructures and system, ethical and legal regulation, education and training of the patients and the population, and communication and participation. So we have been able to structure three different phases. The first one was last year with an open participation of the public for the contribution in this initiative, and a draft bill which has been endorsed by the Navarra government. In 2021, we are in the deployment phase, defining the governance, the timeline, the indication, allocating the budget, and doing the prioritization of the actions. And in the next 8 years to 2030, it will be the phase of carrying out with the action lines for the strategy and the action, and of course the control and assessment of the whole process. So we came from the NAGENE scheme to the Navarra strategy in personalized medicine, and this has contributed very deeply into the Spanish strategy on personalized medicine, which was launched in 2020 last year, and which has a very important contribution for the 1+1 million genomes initiative of the European Commission. So this is all an integrated contributions for all these institutions, and the Navarra strategy is in the very center of all this ecosystem in the European Union. So, but by doing this, we won't like to lose our focus. As I told you, I'm a clinical geneticist, I'm a doctor, and I think that bringing the personalized medicine into the bedside of the patient must be done by a human and personalized medicine treatment between the patients and the doctors, and all this process must be behind and helping the doctors and the patients to take their own decisions for a better healthcare system. So thank you.
Thank you so much for your nice presentation, Professor Alonso. There are some questions for you, but one sec, because I have realized that there are two questions to Mariona, to Dr. Mariona. If she's here, we will wait till her to ask these questions. Firstly, I will ask you, Professor Alonso, one question to you. Which of the barrier to introduction of whole genomic strategy that you have shown do you consider was most problematic upon introduction of the technology in Navarra?
So I would say that most of the barriers that we have were related to technology, and these could be very easily resolved by doing more investment. So, but I find that very important points are related to the public participation. I mean, we are talking about sharing data, sharing genomic data, and if the public is not happy to have the data shared, we want to be able to use this for producing very good and nice research, and we want to be able to use that to producing new treatments and better diagnosis facilities. So for this reason, we need to have all the public on board and giving clear instructions to them what we are doing, what we are trying, and of course doing the adequate regulations on how are we going to have all the ethical and legal issues resolved.
So data sharing is very important.
Yeah.
And there is another question. Excuse me, just check. To what extent is Navarra planning on integrating further omics technologies to obtain an even more complete knowledge base on the individual patient?
So of course, new omics are in our next view. So we think that all the data we can incorporate into this ecosystem is very important, and we have started by integrating genomics and health data to produce better quality healthcare. So, but of course, we need to incorporate additional omic markers and new biomarkers to produce. I mean, the whole ecosystem will be the same. I mean, having first technology development, and then try it and pilot it into the clinic, having and collecting real-world data to produce new hypotheses and enable to manufacture new drugs and diagnostic tools. That, of course, new omics are going to be involved in the very, very next future, I would say.
So thank you so much for your answers. And Mariona, are you still here?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, so I have two questions for you. Sorry for the delay. In what respect is industry cooperation aimed at for production of CAR-T cells?
So do you mean if we are just thinking to partner with also industries?
Yeah, I think they mean that.
I think we just open to it. So it, of course, like the beginning will be with academic cell therapies, but I believe that if there's just industries interested in manufacturing their products with us, I think we can just find a way to just do a mixed format to be able to do it. Of course, we're just a 100% public center because we're part of the of the Galician service. But of course, if this will help bringing new therapies closer to the patient, I think it's a model that we will just take into account and work on it. So.
Okay, thank you. And the next question to CAR T cells, which indications are being aimed for?
So this is what we are discussing with the clinicians, both from the Hospital of Santiago and the hospital in Barcelona. It will be for oncohematological tumors, most likely lymphomas, which are really like with patients which are really sick, so with the life expectancy of less than 6 months. So now we're trying to define if we do a big group of lymphomas or we try to just get more smaller indications. But yeah, that we're still working on it. So I can just say lymphoma, but I cannot really specify more. So hopefully in 2 months we will have a clear answer to this.
You will keep up to date.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you so much, Angel and Mariona. Now I'm presenting the second speaker of this session, who will present the Fraunhofer Institute for Cell Therapy and Immunology, IZI. This institute develops and validates methods, products, and materials in the fields such as cell and gene therapy, drugs and vaccines, molecular diagnostics, and immunodiagnostics. Fraunhofer IC works closely with different hospital institutions, and Dr. Thomas Stradler is the head of business development and patent management at this institution. And thank you so much for accepting our invitation. The floor is yours, Dr. Stradler. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So first of all, I would like to thank the organizers for giving me the chance to present something about Fraunhofer today. I'm still trying to identify the full screen mode. So
thank you. Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's perfect.
Great.
Thank you.
So, you never know exactly whether it may work or not, but it works obviously, so this is great. So again, thank you and thank the organizers for giving me the chance to present here. And you introduced me already, so I can just jump into the slides without further undue delay. And this is the agenda of my talk. So I'm going to start with telling you some key facts about the Fraunhofer Society as a whole. Then I'm going to introduce you to Fraunhofer IZI, and I will conclude my talk with giving you an overview about our strategies of how to bring innovation and innovative partners to the region, right? So the first slide, this is actually giving you an overview about the whole Fraunhofer Society. So you may know already that we are a German non-university research organization. We are pretty proud of being the Europe's largest society for applied research. At the time being, Fraunhofer has 75 institutes, almost 30,000 employees, and our annual budget is almost reaching 3 billion euro annually. Fraunhofer has a non-profit structure, and in contrast to universities, we are exclusively focusing on applied research, right? So we are doing nothing else than just applied research with or for industry partners, and this is already, so to say, written in our mission. So the mission of Fraunhofer is just to support industry partners and the society with everything they need to develop successful products, what can be product candidates, contract research, services of any kind, innovations, troubleshooting, and things like that, right? And over the past few decades, Fraunhofer established a worldwide presence. So we, meanwhile, became a truly global organization. I mentioned already our activities and business models, which are comprising contract research, joint development, licensing, consulting, and anything else what makes sense for the partners. And this slide gives you an overview about the technology areas of Fraunhofer. So you can take from this slide that we are not only doing applied research in life sciences, Fraunhofer also has a high number of applied research activities in IT, microelectronics, light surfaces, production energy, materials, defense and security. So you may know already some of our products, MP3, of course, we invented MP3. So if there are some proud owners of a cell phone, of a smartphone in the audience, thank you very much for the license fees. We also developed the white LEDs and luxury cars, and we do have some development projects ongoing in the life science area as well. And now let's come to my institute, the Fraunhofer Institute for Cell Therapy and Immunology. We are a pretty large, one of the largest, I would say, life science Fraunhofer institutes. We have a staff size of 650 plus something, plus means visiting scientists, students. So in total, our staff size may come up to 800 to 900 people. We are headquartered in Leipzig in the Free State of Saxony. We do have subsidiaries in a number of other provinces, Länder of Germany. We also do have a presence in Korea. Our budget last year was almost 40 million euro. And the main thing to know about Fraunhofer ASIA is just the structure of business units. So our main business unit is cell and gene therapies. In this business unit, are we very, very proud of being able to cover with our offers and technologies almost the entire value chain in cell therapy R&D. I will come back to this with a few more details in a second. Our second business unit is drug and vaccine R&D. So here we are just developing small organic molecules, antibodies, and vaccines for human and veterinary medicine, having a particular focus on immuno-oncology, neurodegenerative diseases, and a number of other disease areas. The third business unit is diagnostics and biomarkers. So in this business unit, we are just focusing on the discovery and clinical validation of DNA, RNA, protein-based biomarkers. And then, as we're not a university, right? So we are developing product candidates together with our partners. Are we just developing in this business unit diagnostic solutions, which can be everything between just a simple ELISA assay or an IVD or a point-of-care diagnostic devices. And at the other end of the scale, we even are developing large ultrasound devices and things like that. And our fourth business unit is extracorporeal therapies. Here we are just focusing on developing new dialyzer strategies and components. And to give you an idea about the scale of operations, so even in 1 year, we had projects last year with 179 different industry partners. So we didn't count only a single industry partner twice, and more than 170 academic partners worldwide. So, and now this slide gives you a few more details regarding our business unit, cell and gene therapies. As I mentioned already, we are covering more or less the entire value chain from early development to GLP safety, efficacy, GMP process development, including optimization and automation, of course, GMP manufacturing, operating one of Europe's largest GMP manufacturing facilities for ATMPs. And last but not least, we also can support our partners with clinical trials through our close collaboration with our local university hospital. And the main thing to know about our business in this business unit is that our business is based on 2 pillars, right? As I mentioned already, first of all, we are providing our partners, which can be industry partners or even academic or hospital partners, with services, technologies, things like that, based on a simple fee-for-service model, contract research, contract testing, contract manufacturing, contract development, whatever might be required, what is also including consulting, for example, regarding regulatory aspects. And second, we also are a research organization, right? So this is the pretty cool thing to know about Fraunhofer. We are actually doing both, right? So we also do have own internal research capabilities, pretty large one, to be honest. And we also are conducting and pursuing a number of internal and joint R&D projects together with partners, some of them publicly funded with funds coming from the European Union, from the German Federal Ministry for Science and Education, or any other local or regional source. So this is about our business unit, cell and gene therapies. And now in the remaining time, I would like to introduce you very, very briefly to 3 basic models of how our institute has an impact on just initiating, mediating the innovation flow into the region, right? And the first part of this strategy is just, or are just, our applied research activities with a large number of national, international, industry and academic partners, right? So we are pursuing, there are just some examples given here, a large number of joint research and contract research projects with companies like Novartis. You may know that we have been the exclusive manufacturer of Kymriah for Novartis, right? For all European countries, as far as I know. But we also, just besides Novartis, which certainly time being is our lead customer, we also did have or are having projects with other companies, most of them actually coming from outside Germany. And by collaborating with them, we just do not only realize revenues for our institute, we also are continuously learning, we are bringing innovation to the region. And the second part of this strategy component is, or are our research partnerships with international partners. As I mentioned already, Fraunhofer is exclusively focusing on applied research, what raises the question, of course, where does the fundamental research-derived innovation come from, right? And that's the reason why we are continuously looking for international, excellent academic partners we can partner with and then develop just innovative technologies and product candidates together with them. And so we established a number of partnerships with universities like McMaster in Canada, Monash University in Melbourne, Australia, with University Hospital in Korea, and other partners which I just couldn't mention here. This is part 1 of our strategy. Part 2 is that Fraunhofer is pretty active in creating spin-off companies, and moreover, we also gained a specific expertise. We accumulated specific expertise in supporting international companies having the intention to start business activities in Germany, right? So we actually are doing both. We will create spin-off companies. Yeah, just a number of examples. Ribonomics GmbH is a spin-off company in the area of RNA diagnostics for cancer. Epitopic does epitope characterization, antibody characterization, and ligand development. Perioterp, these guys are developing new antibiotics. Tutela Cell is just a consulting company, and BioVil is a funding support and a grant writing company, right? And we can support spin-off activities of our scientists via our venture capital network, which we established through our BD activities. We do have an own venture group within Fraunhofer, and we do also have several supporting programs. And second, we also are supporting the establishment of a series of international companies. So whenever a company wants to start a business in Europe, we are trying of convincing them to convince them of starting a business in Germany, in Leipzig, in Saxony. And here are just a few examples mentioned of companies that we successfully established here. This actually also brings innovation to the region. As a matter of course, you know how it is with establishing spin-off companies and things like that. Not all of these companies survive at the end of the day, but nevertheless, and this is an important point to mention, the knowledge and the expertise stay in the region, and this is important. And part 3 of our strategy is just to engage together with other regional and national partners in very large consortia, having a particular focus on regional development. So, and among them is our Saxocell example. Saxocell actually is a cluster initiative where we just recently obtained funding from the German Federal Ministry for Science and Education within the Clusters for Future initiative. So we obtained the funding approval in February this year and officially started with Saxocell on October 1st. And we obtained 15 million euro for a period of time of 2 years just to establish Saxony as the European lighthouse for cell and gene therapy. And we are having a chance just to get further funding coming up to 50 million euro in total for up to 10 years. And this is really an amount of money you really can do something with, right? And here we partnered with very strong Saxon partners, University of Leipzig, University of Dresden, the very large hospital in Chemnitz and Fraunhofer. And together we will be developing living medicine made in Saxony. So, and this actually is, so I don't want to go further into detail. Instead, I hope the talk was of some interest for you, and I'll be happy to take any questions. Thank you very much.
For your nice presentation. It's an overview of research and spin-offs and everything. It's very interesting, your topic. I have one question. In your view, what are the key elements of the coordination to enhance research, innovative projects, and collaboration with industry? What do you think?
Key elements regarding collaboration, research collaborations with industry.
Yes. Because you are talking about creation of spin-offs and collaboration with industry, so that's...
This is a fascinating topic. We certainly could talk for hours about this. So just from my very personal view, you know, we at Fraunhofer, we are doing nothing else but just collaborating with industry. Sooner or later, we are aiming to commercialize any of our developments, right? To some extent, mostly with industry partners. What I think, and based on my experience, what counts most for industry partners is the innovation level, right? So this is something what we are experiencing nowadays. We also had activities a while ago regarding development of further autologous CAR T therapies. But what we are experiencing right now is that this something becomes pretty old-fashioned, right? So nowadays, our industry partners are asking us for how can we just get the cost of goods down? How can we make all the nice, innovative ATMPs a little bit more, how to say, compatible with the public health systems? How can we get them fitting better with standard business models of the pharmaceutical industry? And among the solutions is just, for example, the development of automated systems and devices for the manufacturing of ATMPs and its quality control. Among them is also the development of allogeneic therapies. So nowadays our institute is focusing much more on not only developing in vivo gene therapies based on unique AAVs and other types of viral vectors, but also based on CAR-NKs, allogeneic CAR-NK approaches to really treat serious diseases of the patients with affordable therapies at the end, right? So this is something what we are focusing on. And as I said, so from my point of view, innovation counts first, as what is also clear to all of us. So we are living in a globalized world, right? So we can't just keep our view limited to Germany or Spain or whatsoever. So any of our industry partner, and may it be a 10-person company, they when they consider collaborating with Fraunhofer ASI, at the same time, they almost always are considering to collaborate with a company in China, with a company in the States, with a company in wheresoever. It's a really big world, and just to stay interesting for the companies, you need to keep your innovation level very high. And the third answer, part of the answer would be collaborations, everything, right? So when a single institution or a single entity starts thinking they can do everything and they are the very best and blah, 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 then this is the very first step to bringing them down at the end, right? So we need more collaboration, and this is particularly true for Europe, right? So you may know in the ATMP area, as a matter of course, we can give very nice talks here, but we all know that still 76% of the industry is located in the States, and part two worldwide from a global perspective is just China and a number of other Asian countries. Europe is ranked 4, as far as I know, at least regarding the number of clinical trials with ATMPs. So there is certainly something what we have to do better in Europe. And
Yes.
one of the ways could be just to collaborate more intensively.
So thank you so much. There are. Do
Yes.
you want?
Well, I have a question to both, to Professor Ángel Alonso and also to Dr. Thomas Tratler. Well, it's partially answered by Dr. Tratler, but I would like to ask you about the importance of the strategic alliance that you were mentioned both in your presentation, and also the importance of this kind of projects such as Regions for Permanent Project as a way to disseminate what these two institutions, Navarra Tigmiomet and also the Fraunhofer Institute, well, the importance to disseminate that the general population knows the important work that you are developing in the field of personalized medicine. Yeah, I don't know if Ángel maybe.
Please, go ahead.
Yeah, so thank you. So regarding the second question, how important is the pilots for the information of the population? I would say that pilots need to be put in place before a real program and a huge program and up-down program is set, because it allows you to prove that the preclinical information that you have is okay, and that your system will make it possible to put that clinical care easily into your hospitals. And also it is very important to bring this innovation to the professionals, I mean to the workforce in the hospital, because you mentioned in your presentation about how important it is, the workforce in the Galicia health system. So there are a lot of doctors who are not very aware of the advantages of bringing all this new technology into the research. And by doing these pilots, I think that that we could make more clear information for the professionals and also for the public. And then when we could assess how the project and the pilot has gone, we could think of how are we going to plan the next step in our regional national strategy. So I will let the floor to my colleague for the first question, and the second if he wants to add something.
So actually I only could echo what you said, right? So at the end is everything about collaboration between research organizations, research institutes, clinicians at the hospitals, and sometimes forgotten the industry, right? So all three partners need to come together with or without public funding, and then we can really do something great here in Europe. And it's, 5 to 12, so to say, to start with this.
There is a last question for Dr. Tratler. What do you see as the largest potential field of application for cell therapies in the further future? What are the biggest hurdles?
Yeah, so just from my layman's perspective, I think the most important challenge still is to treat patients suffering from serious oncology diseases, from serious cancer diseases, right? We must make clear to us that despite of billions of euros spent on oncology research over the past decades, for all, not all certainly, but for a large number of cancer diseases, you simply are dying within months at maximum, right? So there's a lot to do, I think. And regarding the ATMPs, as a matter of course, we all are more than happy about the incredible success rates of approaches like Kymriah and Yescarta and all the others, right? So as far as I know, there are remission rates of 80% or more, right? So this is really fantastic. Even for 20% other patients can simply die. But we must make clear to us, I think, that we still are really in the very early development stage regarding solid tumors, right? And it's, as a matter of course, it is nice to get treatment options in our hands for hematologic cancers, right? So this is pretty good for patients suffering from such diseases. However, the most frequent oncology diseases are breast cancer, gastric cancer, and lung cancer, and diseases like this. And this will be a real challenge, as far as I know, autologous CAR-T therapies, we're not doing so good in area of solid tumors, what has something to do with the tumor microenvironment, with escape mechanisms and things like that. And we truly hope that we can address such challenges by even more intense genetic modification of immune cells. Just, for example, CAR-NK cells, which then, in the optimal situation, also could get used in an allogeneic way. So this will be the main future. And what I think what will be the really cool thing, just dreaming of something, what is still science fiction, would be in vivo gene therapy. In vivo gene therapies for cancer diseases. This won't happen 10 years from now, but maybe in 20 to 30 years from now. If you're feeling bad, you're going to see your doctor, and then you get your tumor sequence, molecular biopsy from the blood, and then there is a small device just constructing the in vivo gene therapy, which helps you to eradicate your tumor. This is something what would be cool, and this will be the future, I think.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Professor Ángel Alonso and Dr. Pradler, for being speakers of our first session. Now we will move to the second session, Financial Instruments to Support Innovation. I am glad to present the first speaker of this session, who will show us the project clinical implementation of personalized medicine in health services, Personalized Medicine Applied Medea, which consists of a health innovation program to involve private companies in its development by public procurement of innovation. Professor Adrián Llerena, nice to see you, is the director of the Clinical Research Center in Extremadura University Hospital and Medicinal School. He is the president of the Spanish Society of Pharmacogenetics and Pharmacogenomics. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation. The floor is yours, Professor Llerena.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I hope it works well. Can you
right
see my
now
slide?
we see, yeah, perfectly.
And can you hear me well?
Yes, thank
Okay.
you. You can go.
Yeah, good morning. So thank you for the invitation to, it's always so nice to be in Galicia. I really enjoy the weather and the food today. It's a pity I cannot be there physically, but I hope that in the future we will be able to meet personally. So I will tell you, and I will show the project of clinical implementation of pharmacogenomics and personalized medicine that we have been developing for the last 8 years. This is a regional approach, which makes a difference. It's a little bit similar like Navarra that was presented by Dr. Alonso. So first, this is our base. This is truly a clinical implementation project in which our base is regulatory information that came from EMA, European Medicine Agency. I'm part of the pharmacogenomics working party since 2010. And as you can see on the right side, this is a number of times that we have been recommending a genetic biomarker during the clinical drug registration process. As you can see today, more than 40% of the drugs contains a biomarker. But when we check the information in Spain, you can see here in blue when there is no biomarker recommended in ASMPC, red when it's recommended, in gray when it's doubted. So as you can see, in most of the therapeutic groups, this is alimentary drugs, blood, cardiovascular, musculoskeletal, mostly analgesics, central nervous system, respiratory. In most of the cases already, we have a recommendation of the use of biomarker when we prescribe a drug. Therefore, first idea. So we have, this is not a matter of research of quality, that of course it is, of clinical care, is a mandatory that came from implementation. Secondly, what is the situation at present in Spain about policymakers? We have two major tasks. One was when the Senate last in 2017 decided to open a committee to evaluate the potential clinical implementation of genetic and genomics. And the mandate from the Senate was very clear. All the new information that we have from genetic and genomics, specifically pharmacogenomics, need to be implemented in the public healthcare system. As you know, in Spain, we have 17 states or autonomous communities. But moreover, last year, 2020, the government decided to open a national strategy for the implementation of clinical pharmacogenetics in the public healthcare service. So, and that is called IMPACT. There are three branches. One is epidemiology, another is data scientist, third is genomics, and within genomic, there is a working package just for pharmacogenomics. The leader of this working package is Professor Carracedo from Santiago, there in Galicia, and I'm the leader of the pharmacogenetics implementation. Therefore, we have just a first achievement in which we are doing pilot studies on Extremadura, Galicia, Castilla y León, Salamanca, Madrid, and Valencia. And right now, we are expecting a new call for the implementation of clinical pharmacogenetics in the whole in a national healthcare perspective. So this is a frame. What happened in Extremadura? For different reasons, but we started first, it was in 2013, when we decided this situation. This is Extremadura, one of the 17 Spanish national healthcare services. We are very particular since we are very located on the west part of the peninsula, and I consider in that regard Extremadura as a pilot sample for the implementation of pharmacogenetics, because we are just 1 million people living in a pure countryside place. There are only 2 cities. Most of the population lives in rural areas. The healthcare data are very similar. We do not have any focus of any disorder. Ethnically, the population is very homogeneous. And moreover, we have only one electronic medical record system that covers the whole population. We do not have here much private sector. Therefore, just one service, the Servicio Extremeño de Salud, covers 99% of the population with one medical record. That makes the situation very unique to do a kind of pilot implementation. Those are the data that were here. You can see we are more or less like Belgium on an extension, but there they have 11 million inhabitants, and we have here 1 million. And that are the reasons why clinical pharmacogenetics needs to be implemented. A new information came for drug cost, direct cost, and you can see here in 2020, 500 million euros, 478 million euros will be expended on drug cost, direct cost, for a total budget of 1,800 million. Therefore, this is almost 30%, 25%, 30% of healthcare cost, which is at the same time, the majority of the government cost goes directly for drugs. And the problem is not only direct cost, it's indirect cost, because as soon as we are introducing more drugs into the society, more drug interaction are coming, more unexpected side effects coming. Therefore, that's why we decide to make an approach which is very unique, because you will find in most of the cases, very deep on genetic or genomics approach, but our approach is based on the patient, saying, okay, what are the major factors that can make the interindividual differences in drug response? One, we have genetic and genomic information. Yeah, this is correct. But secondly, we have a lot of clinical data that are also relevant to make a decision, such as the liver function, the renal clearance, etc., etc. And third, drug-drug interactions. Therefore, we are implementing a program for the prediction of interindividual variability in which genetic or genomics is a part of this. This is the first differences. The second is most of the guidelines that you will see around are based on a drug or a medical specialty. But we consider that in most of the cases, the patients are in polytherapy. No matter if you are thinking about oncologists, a gut, or whatever, at the end of the day, drug-drug interactions happen because patients are in polytherapy. Therefore, we need to make an intellectual effort in order to predict the best drug combinations in order of prevent drug failure or other drug reactions. As you know, this is a quaternary preventive program. And this is a very simple summary of the project. We want to predict ADRs or drug choice or dosage. And by that, we will have three sources of information. Genes, of course, which is the major, clinical data, as I mentioned it before, and drug-drug interactions that will happen all the time in order to predict the best drug choice, adequate, the proper dosage, and predict ADR for all patients. For that, we went to the Ministry of Industry in order to look for funds, and we get 5.3 million euros in order to develop a personalized prescription program that will be integrated in the electronic medical record. So therefore, and just in a few days, hopefully, the final competitions for company will be open. It will be in total the project 5 million euros, 5.3. And the first challenge that we are asking in the company is to develop a clinical decision supporting system with a clinical visualization supporting tool. We gave this name, Personalized Oriented Prescription System, POPS. That will be a personalized prescription program that we will check three major databases. One is the genetic biomarkers, of course, the drug-drug interactions, of course, and the electronic medical record data. That's why we call that this is a clinical pharmacogenetics program integrated on e-health, because e-health is a major component of that. But moreover, in the future, we want to develop the impact on the system. That's why we opened a fourth challenge, which is called for the evaluation of a bad drug reaction on daily clinical, on daily life, real world data. That's why we ask the companies also to evaluate a bad drug reaction on the patient. This is a summary of the challenges that we're asking for the companies. One, to develop a personalized oriented prescription system, a program that will be integrated into the electronic medical record with three sources of information: electronic medical record data, drug-drug interactions, and genetic biomarkers. This is the first challenge. Second, genotyping, called System for Genotyping, CGen, we call it. That will be a second challenge, and it will be open for competition in few days or weeks at max. Third, as I mentioned before, the evaluation of drug reactions promote in the daily life. And the fourth, which is quite interesting, we want to develop a tool for clinical trials, to stratify clinical trial. I mean, this is a little bit long. This is my medical specialty as a clinical pharmacologist. This is one of the major barriers for clinical implementation, because first, when we see a bad drug reaction, then we are looking for a gene. But if we can integrate the genes in the process of research, probably I think that will be very useful for the future clinical implementation. And this is in Spanish. This is a nightmare for me, but I have been trained to summarize this system, which is a little bit complicated. Probably all of you know more than me about the Innovation Association. This the system we will call is Public by Procurement Compra Pública Innovadora in Spain. It will be open now. First, we will select companies. We have been there. We have been exploring the market, and already we have 80 companies. And we have 3 stages for negotiation. First, projects, then negotiations, and then we have a final project that will go into a model, a prototype, and a pilot. And hopefully in the future that will go for the whole care system. In the previous exploration that we did to the market, we had almost 83 proposals. So we were able to show that companies have the capability to solve that problem. And this is as we are expecting to go. First is 2020. So now we will start to select companies. During 2022, we will have the development of the pilot, the prototype, the project pilot, prototype and pilot, and then 2023 we will have, the use for the healthcare. But the problem came during the COVID, because we were expecting for the companies to validate the program. This is one of the major, I think, news from Medea. We don't want just a theoretical problem based on drugs. We want a problem based on patients taking different drugs and using genetic plus other information. Since we are very much aware that it will be impossible in the present circumstances, we decide to open a clinical cohort for validation. We decide to do ourselves. So we are collecting patients now. This patient will be 3,000 patients. This information will be ready for companies to do the pilot. So, but we are doing now is to, in order to ethically, to give this information to patients, we are doing 10 basic genes, and we are giving to the clinicians a report, yes, in order to be implemented. And this is another issue that I want really to remark. I'm really worried about the inequality and the biotechnological gap. I think that we implement clinical pharmacogenetics, it should be for the whole population and in the whole world, because we cannot give the idea that by promoting pharmacogenetics, we are creating a certain group of people that are much protected from the drugs. Therefore, I'm located here, which is the University Hospital. We have also here, but you can see we have centers, collecting centers all over the region, small places like Losar de la Vera or Retamal de Llerena, which is 500 inhabitants, rural area, plus university hospitals, including oncology, internal medicine, neurology, cardiology, transplantations, but also all psychiatric patients. At the moment, we have already, today, I think is 700 patients. We have 145 clinical researchers, physicians and nurses mostly, and 45 clinical centers. So that will allow us to have a group of data that will help for the clinical evaluation. With this information in front, we are giving information about 70 drugs. In that way, we are managing, we are giving this information for clinicians to use. And these are the preliminary data. This is the first time that I'm showing publicly. I think this is very important because those data are from just 2 days ago. Can you see here? Those are, sorry, because it's in Spanish, but adverse drug reactions. When you ask the people, how many of you have suffered for a severe adverse drug reactions, 28% answer yes, I had. So I think because we are giving a lot of theories and whatever, but 1 out of 3 patients suffer for adverse drug reactions if you ask for that. And those are severe adverse drug reactions in 25% of the cases. When I mean severe, I'm telling that these patients were to a hospital because they were suffering of a new clinical condition produced by the drug. So, and the intensity was severe. I mean, the life was in risk in 32% of the cases, and 25 of them were to the hospital. The solution was just to withdraw the drug. Therefore, I think this very preliminary data in Extremadura show that we need to do something about this problem. I will say again, a third, exactly 28.6% of the patients suffer a severe bad drug reaction. From them, 86% were clearly related to a drug, and the intensity from this third part of the population, a third, was so severe that the patient was forced to go to a hospital. And the solution was just to withdraw the drug. So therefore, I think the need for clinical implementation is needed. Thank you so much for the Galician Innovation Agency to give me to talk in front of you, and for all the initiatives that I'm doing in Spain, that in fact, I think they are enlightening all of us in different parts of the countries. So we are ready to take any questions. And of course, for all companies, I hope that they will come and they will join this effort with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for participating in this workshop and for sharing the really new data of this project. And I have one question about it. What do you think, how do you tackle these severe adverse symptoms that you show in the slides?
Yeah, those are data about the research project. I will try to explain myself. This data is when you ask the patients, did you have severe adverse drug reactions? Because the first what we want is to quantify the problem. But that was in the past.
In the past, sí.
This is in the past. Now we are just running the project. We are in the middle. Those are the patients that we are studying. When we ask them, without any bias, because there is no specific group of people, it's anywhere that can involve. When you ask the people, did you have in your life any severe side effect that you consider that was related to a drug? So 33, approximately a third of the population say yes.
It's
my
amazing.
life, I had. Yeah, this is from the past.
Yes.
When we ask in the present, which is your question, I guess.
Yes.
Specifically, of course, we are now taking a lot of people from oncology, psychiatry. More than 90% of the patients have a side effect, severe part of them. And now we are genotyping them, and I cannot tell you, because we are in the middle of the process, how many of those side effects can be prevented by using our prescription program.
Okay. Thank you. It's clear now.
No, I think because in the literature we are always guessing, okay, other drug reactions are important, are relevant, blah, blah, blah. But it's very difficult because if you don't ask the people and you don't look for this information, we do not have, because the pharmacovigilance system doesn't work properly in general. So I think it's an extremely relevant more for a public healthcare system. This is my personal view.
Yeah, I think so. And there are more questions. But what are the economic costs of adverse drug reactions related to this?
It depends. But if from this data, if all of them went to a hospital, just to go to a hospital, it depends which type of hospital are you going. You are going to a university hospital or a local hospital. But in general, when I have been asking to the managers, they say that at least there are 10,000 euros just to be there, to go there. Then you need to you need to add all information about the different type of analysis that are made connected with that. That is much related to the type of ADRs or the drug reactions. Yeah, but this is a huge amount of money. I think the problem in pharmacogenetics is not the direct cost of the drugs. That of course it is, but it's the indirect cost and the suffer that we are provoking into people. Yes. Suffer that can be, I think, prevented by using tools like genetic genomics and other type of information that are already in the in the medical record. If a patient has a previous history of a drug reaction, this information needs to be present in the moment that the decision of prescribe a new drug is made. This is crazy that just we are asking the patient directly, do you know, have you been, I mean, it's just an oral question.
Yeah, thank you. And what are the next steps after the integration of this system in Extremadura health system?
Now we are really looking for companies, and there are several companies here, and I hope, because it's a 8 years process, and I survive, I'm still alive after Medea, which is quite relevant. So I cannot be sure that in next days the competition will be open, but I guess so, that finally all the companies can come to participate probably next week. So therefore, in a month or two, we need to select the partners that will make the co-innovation with us during 2022. And the best advantage now in this project from companies is that we will include in the negotiation the clinical core data, because we already have part of the genetic data needed, plus all the clinical information from a patient, real world data, collecting directly from patient with informed consent and with an ethical committee permission in a network of 145 clinicians. So it's not just a theoretical program at the end. A company that works with us, we will have the opportunity to test, to validate their system. And then probably at the end of 22, we need to reorganize the algorithm, because genetics could be very relevant for certain cases. But if the kidney is not working, probably in that situation, genetic is not relevant anymore. And it depends on which type of drug-drug interactions are you pretending to do. So we need to combine these three sources of information at the end of 22. Therefore, the big advantage of Medea is that the company that works in the project, we will be able to reorganize an algorithm based on real clinical data from 1 million people, and with a set probably of 2,000-3,000 patients up front.
So thank you so much for your presentation and your answers. Now I think we are quite late, so I'm glad to present the following speakers that who will share with us the modernization of healthcare in the Lombardy region by using financial instruments such as pre-commercial procurement. They also will show the active involvement of the public and the private sector, as well as the point of view of the private sector. They are Gabriel Busti. He is the head of the Office of Investments for Research, Innovation and Technology Transfer, and Marco Penco from the private sector from Info Solutions SPA. He is the Research and New Products Manager. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation. The floor is yours, Mr. Busti and Mr. Penco. Thank you. Hello.
Thank you so much for invitation, and good morning. I am Busti Gabriele, and work in the region Lombardy, and I am a manager of the region Lombardy, and in particular is an investment for research. In the presentation, my collaborator for is an important project because have a project realized. You see the project realized is very important. 4 is not realized in phase of realization. 1 is realization and the company realization of this project. I give the floor for my collaborator, Matteo Pozzetti, is illustrated the project. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mr. Pozzetti is the project manager at Lombardy region. He will make the presentation. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Good morning. In this presentation, we will describe what PCPs are and how they were designed in Italy. And then we will show you 4 PCPs launched in Lombardy, all in the health sector, drawing conclusion on what we have learned so far. The speech ends with the 2 suppliers who won the first PCP pilot, which recently saw one of the 2 companies marketing its own innovative solution. I will focus only on the most important issues, but you will find more information in the slides. According to the Italian law, pre-commercial public procurement is applied in the event that client needs cannot be met by solutions already available on the market and in compliance with some specific requirements as the following. The first one, the public contract must involve research and development services, and then benefits are due exclusively to the contracting authority for its use in the exercise of its business. Here you can see a comparison between a contract, and a regular contract, and a PCP. Note that in the PCP, the public buyer does not own the exclusive property or the results obtained from the R&D. PCP is a competitive procedure which follows 3 phases. The first one is solution design, the second is prototype and development, and the third is the experimentation phase. These 3 steps are anticipated by an open market consultation, the so-called phase 0, involving proactive analysis of the technological offers available on the market and defining the main elements needed to make a decision related to the public procurement planning. The main characteristics of PCP, to exclude the configuration of state aid, is that the procurement is public and the procedure must guarantee transparency, competition, equal treatment, impartiality, non-discrimination, and proportionality. And the procedure must be under competitive circumstances, enabling competition, and finally, all results that do not impact intellectual property rights can be made public. And here you can see the tenders launched by the Lombardy region under the ERDF ROP 2014-2020. You can see that in 2013, the first pilot PCP in Italy launched for the benefit of a public hospital. The PCP allowed the Hospital Niguarda in Milan to purchase a smart system for moving beds. Now the PCP is ended and one company just started to the commercialization this year. In 2018, 2 PCPs launched for the evaluation of the fragility of the coronary atherosclerotic plaque. Then the development of a robotic exoskeleton for motor rehabilitation. And in 2020, the PCP for the technological development of the imaging in surgical assistance and support system. The 3 PCPs will last till 2022-23. Then finally, what we have learned. First, that phase 0 is essential to select needs in the market. Secondly, that it's very important to enable opportunities of communication between the stakeholders. The third lesson is that it is important to ensuring more time for supplier to design, prototype, and experiment, reducing in the meanwhile the administrative time of evaluation. Note that our first PCP lasted almost 9 years, while our new PCPs have a maximum of time frame of 3, 4, maximum 5 years, including the COVID extension. Finally, we say that it is essential to make the tenders more attractive without limiting profits. Then, well, this is our point of view. But next, we listen the feedback from the 2 companies who won the first pilot PCP in Lombardy, Opent and InfoSolution Company, on behalf of the partnership with the Polytechnic of Milano and the University of Milano Bicocca. Thanks for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Pozzetti. Yes, could you run the video?
Yes.
Yes, but you have to share the sound as well. Yeah, at the bottom you have share. Okay.
My name is Lorenzo Gaiani. I'm the Chief Technical Officer of Opent, and my company participated in the pre-commercial procurement issued by Lombardy Region and Niguarda Hospital in 2013. The news of this PCP is the fact that it brought market. This is the message. Beside money, beside funds, the company gained much more acceptance from its current customers and also prospect ones because of the capability to innovate. We arranged some agreements with a couple of companies, for instance in China, where we also sell our AGVs, PTS, and all the product portfolio for hospital intralogistics that we manufacture. And the same we did exactly in Dubai with a company that will receive the first EvoBed is the name of our product at the beginning of next year. Of course, we signed these agreements that we hinted at for selling the whole range of our product portfolio, but now EvoBed is the latest, is the most innovative and attractive, and is leading and pushing the sales of the other. So this is a collateral effect of participating to the PCP that we didn't expect at the beginning, but that we are now measuring directly.
Thank you. Now it's time for Mr. Penko. He is from the private sector, and he will show us the point of view of the private sector. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation, Mr. Penko.
Thank you. Thank you for your invitation.
The floor is yours.
Thank you. I'll try to share the presentation.
Yeah, we see perfectly.
Can you see? Okay, very good. Thank you. Okay, Hello, I am Marco Penco. I work as a research and new products manager for InfoSolution. My company participated in the pre-commercial procurement issued by Lombardy Region and Niguarda Hospital in
Excuse me, Mr. Penco, could you show us the full screen?
Yes, I am sharing the full screen. Don't know.
At the bottom, in the right side, because you have...
Oh, is this?
Yes. Yeah. Yes,
oh,
perfect.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so my company participated in the pre-commercial procurement issued by Lombardy Region and Niguarda Hospital in 2013 and won in partnership with University of Milan Bicocca and University Politecnica of Milan. The PCP procurement arises from the fact that a lot of people are involved in handling of beds from one place to another, for instance, from patient room to diagnostic or surgery room. This task requires two social health operators. In fact, these beds are very heavy, and in the path that beds follow, there are several turns and maneuvers to be performed. The job is tiring, and the operators get injured. In Niguarda Hospital, for instance, 32 people move beds and about 10 accidents per year occur, causing invalidity for functional limitation of about 15–20%. So the need was an electric, safe vehicle able to move beds effortlessly. InfoSolution is an Italian company founded in 1998, carrying out software development, design and production of embedded systems, including mechanics, hardware, firmware, software, with a particular focus on RFID technology for blood bags and, in particular, autonomous vehicles, drones. In 2008, the company decided to dedicate a new division to research and innovation, and therefore to the creation and selling of its own products. The funds are obtained through the assignment of grants won on research call. These researches have allowed the creation of prototypes and some products. The usual grants lead to prototype, but there is still a gap before the product. This gap is usually filled by the company itself. PCP instead arises from a need expressed directly by a customer, and this allows a direct market access during the development and when the product is ready. On top of that, the potential health institution is involved from the beginning, and this can guide the development to reach a higher technological readiness level at the end of the project. As regard of the positive outcomes, the strict cooperation between the health institution and us allowed to get detailed information about the need, information that would be hard to obtain otherwise. This led to the development of a product tailored for a specific need. The contact between Niguarda Hospital and us took place in several phases, from the initial site inspection to the requirement written in the documents to progress meetings. The positive outcome, hence, is the development of a product matching with health institution need. The difficulties faced and possible improvements are three. The first, the long time between the beginning of the procedure and the completion of the development can cause a risk, the creation of an already obsolete product. However, this was not the case, since in our case, the product belonged to a niche that does not present fast evolution. A faster procedure could prevent this problem. The second, during the development, it was necessary to redesign and rebuild the prototype. This was not foreseen and caused an increase in cost and time. This happened because a complex system needs experimentation not only in laboratory but also in a real environment before the final delivery. And this phase was not present in the PCP process. When the health institution saw the prototype in our laboratory, the feedback was quite good. while only in the real environment some defects became evident. When this happened, Niguarda Hospital understood this problem and was able to give us a space in the hospital where we could test the vehicle together with them. This solved the problem, but caused a time shift and an increase in the development cost for us. I would therefore recommend to insert some step of testing real environment during the development phase. The third, Niguarda wrote the requirements, but it was a lucky case among hospitals because it is one of the largest in Italy. For this reason, the need of Niguarda has some differences from the need of smaller hospital. So in the perspective of building a product, it would be useful to consider both the specific health institution need and the whole market need. Okay, let me show you a brief video about the product itself. Can you see it? Hello?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Just play. Yes, perfect.
See, this vehicle can be hooked to the leg, to the bed, easily, without any modification to the bed, and the vehicle hides under the bed. It can be maneuvered by a single operator. Slide, it can rotate, it can be moved from different joysticks. Equipped with the collision avoidance system, enabled by a laser sensor. Okay. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Just two quick questions for Lombardy region because we are running out of time. So. Do you consider, to you, Mr. Penko, mostly, do you consider pre-commercial procurement an attractive or important tool for the private sector?
Yes, in my opinion it is, because we can match the need of the client and we can develop a product already ready for the market.
Yes, okay. And is there anything that should be improved related to the translational implementation of the financial instruments? For both of you, just to go from the public to the private sector. What do you think? It's anything that should be improved in using this instrument, using this financial tool? Mr. Pozzetti?
Sorry, this is Paola Bello speaking from FRB. I will reply on behalf of the region and with Mr. Pozzetti and Mr. Busti.
Okay.
Yes, sorry, we are just together. We are working together on this topic.
Okay.
So with regard to this question, PCP is an instrument that is constantly updated. And so experience is kind of the best teacher. So we are learning in the years what needs to be improved. We understand and we appreciate it's a very useful instrument both for the public sector and the private sector. But of course, there are aspects to be improved. So definitely the timing. As Mr. Penko said, sometimes technologies risk to be outdated the moment they need to be implemented. It's just because the whole process took a long time. But we're working on this. At the same time, the more we work on PCP, the more we learn about the private sector and how the technology develops. So it's an instrument in a sense that improves itself. And so, but obviously we are trying to, to work on it and to learn from other experiences. And definitely it is the intention of the region to keep working on this kind of instrument.
So thank you so much for your answer, because it's really clear right now. And we think that it's time to a small, short break, like 5 minutes, and we will start with the third session, just to refresh our minds. Thank you. Thank you so much. Welcome, we are back, and we are starting the third session on smart and future hospitals. I will introduce our first speaker of this session. She is Valentina Polilas. She is the director at EUREGA, which is the European Regional and Local Health Authorities Network. She is also the co-chair of the European Alliance for Value in Health. She will show us the potential of digital innovation for enhancing elderly health and social well-being. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation. The floor is yours, Valentina.
Thank you very much indeed for this opportunity to share some inputs and thoughts with you today. I am indeed representing EUREGA, European Regional and Local Health Authorities. We are a Brussels-based association of regions. At the moment, we represent 20 members coming from 10 countries in Europe. Today, I'm going basically to describe a bit the work that we are doing in EUREGA, why the topic of aging is relevant to us, and especially silver economy and digital innovation. And I will also rapidly guiding you through a project that we have, a CSI action under Horizon 2020, which is called Info-RAHA. And of course, I will share with you the main objective behind this project and activities that we are doing in EUREGA around the topic of aging. As I was mentioning, EUREGA represents regions and local health authorities, which means that for us, it's very important to work together towards sustainable and resilient health and social care systems. So all in all, this is the lenses through which we, let's say, analyze and we
One moment, Valentina, do you have any PowerPoint presentation?
No, I will speak like that.
Thank you. So
I think it's more interactive. Whenever you have a question, you can also, just stop me and ask. As I was mentioning, we work together with the members of EUREGA to really build sustainable and resilient health and social care systems. And the overall objective for us is to build a system which is people-centric, based on value and measurable outcomes. Indeed, we have a strategy which we call internally Health in All Regions, made up on 6 pillars. And one of these pillars is value-based healthcare. So we work a lot around the topic of value-based healthcare and how this can actually become a solution for the sustainability of health and social care systems. And we do that also, we apply value-based healthcare, for instance, also in procurement. I was listening, for instance, to PCP experiences that were presented by Lombardy regions before. And this is something that is also very close to the activities of EUREGA. Besides this approach on value and outcome measurement, what is very important and relevant for us is also the digital health. In terms, of course, first of collection of data, because this is also underpinning, the transformation of health and social care system and exchange of data. So we closely monitoring the European health data space that the Commission would like to put forward in the future. But beside that, of course, digital innovation is something that's also very close to the activities of our members. And we are pretty much interested then also to apply that in the aging sphere, let's say. Integration of care is something else that is also very relevant for us and also very relevant for the aging society. And when I say integration of care, what we are pretty much interested in, it's especially the integration of the health and social care. This is why I'm always talking about the health and social care system. So we want to have a rather, broad approach to health. And last but not least, we are public administration, so the lenses that we use are also related to tackle health inequalities and public health measures in terms of health promotion and prevention. And we also represent border regions, which means that we work a lot on cross-border healthcare cooperation, and especially the implementation of the the European Directive on Patient Mobility, which is also something very relevant for setting up, and building this European health union. So this is just to better explain who we are. What we do indeed through, this overall approach is advocacy and lobbying with the European institutions, project implementation. We are part as the association, part of many projects. And of course, I will go through the details of this project on scaling up innovation for the aging society. And beside that, of course, then we also promote knowledge exchange among the members of EURIGA. And we understand, what are the solutions that can be, for instance, applied from Catalonia and can be, translated somewhere else and adapted to, for instance, to Östergötland. So there is a lot of knowledge exchange and information exchange among the members, just for you to have an idea. So when we talk about aging within EURIGA, we do that, as I said, through these lenses, the lenses of health and social care system sustainability. And in terms of EU policy framework, our action, of course, is embedded in the Green Paper on Aging that were recently published by the European Commission, which is kind of broader document. But for us, what is important is especially the active and healthy aging part, the long-term care, and also tackling isolation and loneliness. Those are the activities that are close to the action of EURIGA. And of course, this also have a huge implication in terms of silver economy, because a developed market of services and products for healthy and active aging can improve the efficiency of health and social care systems. So this is why we are pretty much interested in understanding how to scale up digital innovation across Europe. We have different tools. We all know that in EURIGA, our members know that nowadays to actually scale up this innovation. And the tools are also within the new programming period. In particular, I'm thinking about the future partnership for health and care transformation, health and social care system transformation of Horizon Europe, which of course has also specific focus on aging, but the approach is broader. We all agree on that. And as I said, we represent regions, so structural funds, European structural investment funds. Those are tools that are also very relevant and can be used to really support the demographic aging of Europe, together with national recovery and resilience facility plans. So across Europe, there are huge investment in the health sector that will be also supported through the use of these plans. And we want to understand in EURIGA how to better create synergies among all these tools. Also, again, to ensure also access to startup and SMEs to this huge market, but in a way that can really make a difference for patients and citizens, basically. I mentioned that already, and I want to stress again that we are working on the European health data space as well. You know that a regulation will be put forward. Okay, this has been postponed, but we are waiting for this. And this is something that, again, can have huge implication also for the single market. And so it's very important that we keep an eye on that, not only from data perspective, but also with, let's say, for the silver economy perspective. And also the EU Care initiative that was launched by Ursula von der Leyen. And again, we're waiting for a communication. And the EU Care will actually address the needs of citizen patients and formal and informal caregivers, so all the care economy. And last but not least, the other point is also for us that is very relevant, it's Pact for Skills. And we also submitted the project to really work on digital skills of healthcare workforce, because unless we invest in human capital, for sure there won't be any innovation that could be embedded in health and social care systems, and we can then promote transformation. So those are, let's say, our polar stars, because there are many within the EU context. And I said that we have a specific project that is trying to put all this together on different levels, which is called InfoRaha, Innovation Network for Scaling Active and Healthy Aging. So first, InfoRaha is indeed around scaling up innovation and also citizen empowerment to build person-centered integrated care systems. What we are doing is building on the legacy of the AIP ONAHA that you probably know, the European Innovation Partnership on Active and Healthy Aging, which is a broader community with reference different sites and many other stakeholders involved of the broader HaHa ecosystems. This experience is basically lasted until 2020. So this project is also trying to, let's say, transfer this knowledge that was gathered by this community into something new. So we are working on an overall new governance, if you want, in a way, for the HaHa community. And in doing so, we want also to embed new stakeholders in this community, especially from the supplies and demand side. And this is, let's say, the novelties of InfoRaha, because we are working on cross-border scale-up of tested and ready-to-use application for HaHa. So the idea is really to come up with a tool, an innovation scale-up model that can be used to basically for solutions that are tested, validated by the stakeholders and the users, with a roadmap on the impact evaluation and strategy for long-term investment. So we really would like to have an impact evaluation of this tested innovation solution, and also understand how we can, on the long run, invest in this innovative solution through also attract investors. So those are the activities that InfoRaha is doing. So beside, let's say, reshaping together with all the stakeholders, the overall governance of the HaHa community, come up with this toolkit for an innovation scale-up model across Europe. Well, all in all, I mean, we are trying to do all this, of course, for, changing people's life, but with the support of the overall ecosystem. So from startup and SMEs to the policymakers that I'm representing, in this exercise, in this debate. And we are doing it because we really would like to bring digital transition out of hospitals and traditional community setting, but rather we would like to give the opportunity for elderly people to live their life at home, in community neighborhood. So we do believe that this is a bit also the overall ambitions, to really go to the hospital where it's needed, but to preserve a quality of life for elderly people at home with their family. And those are things that we can achieve, but we really need to understand also how to, again, adapt solution to what are the needs of citizens and patients, and scale up this innovation across Europe. So a bit this is what InfoRaha is going to do. What we do expect from the European institution, of course, it's a support in terms of building the necessary infrastructures, those that are tangible and intangible. And I already mentioned all the funds that we are going to receive. So we do believe that there are, both in terms of policy framework and funds, a lot of points that the Commission already stressed that can really help in guiding us towards the right implementation of all the activities that I was mentioning. What is very important, we understood in this process, is reinforcing the stakeholder collaboration of the overall ecosystems. And I think, this is also true that I was mentioning before. For instance, the tools such as PCP are showing the need for improved dialogue, between public and private administration. And this is true also for embedding whatever digital innovation in the health and social care systems. And I was mentioning before the Pact for Skills. And again, we believe that the European Commission can do a lot in investment for human capital and digital skills for citizens, patients, and of course, healthcare workforce. So we do expect to reinforce the dialogue with the institution on these topics in the future through this project, and especially through the outcome of the projects and this renovated governance for HaHa community. We do believe that we can do a lot together, both for the let's say, silver economy, but the overall health and wealth of the citizens in Europe. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Valentina. It's a nice picture of policymakers and authorities, what's going on. I have one question. In your opinion, what are the most important steps to improve patient empowerment? And what happens with people who are more reluctant to use the digital services?
Okay, I was mentioning before a tool that we believe it's very important, which is value-based healthcare. Value-based healthcare is actually based also on outcome measurement. And outcome measurement is based on prompts and PRAMs, so really patient-reported outcomes and patient-reported experience, basically. And also our all activities, I mean, that statistically and scientifically can really be of support to reform the systems through the inputs, basically, of patients. So we are really working a lot on pushing the European Union and the member state to use more and more standardized outcomes to evaluate the pathway of cares, basically. And this can be actually a solution in terms of at least of care delivery. Then, of course, it would be also very important to work in terms of public health measures, you know, in involving more citizens in discussion on public health, but this is also something different. In terms of digital, again, what is important is this is, for instance, one of the experiences that we had in our network with the Catalonia region. When setting up digital health digital strategy at regional level, it's very important, again, as I was mentioning before, also to invest on skills. Skills of citizens, not only of healthcare workforce, which is very important. And for instance, this is what happened also in Catalonia. You know, there were specific plan also for digital health literacy, basically, because unless you put that in the overall strategy that you have, indeed, this can then be, let's say, a bottleneck in the actual implementation of a digital strategy. So it's very important, probably, that policymakers, since the very beginning, when deciding to invest in digital transformation, they also bear in mind digital health literacy, and they put specific allocation of budget and funds to basically, yes, invest in people's skills.
Okay, investment is the key point. Thank you so much. I don't know what time is it, but it's really late. And we will move to the next speaker. The second speaker of this session is Cristina De Capitani. She's the manager of the Lombardy Cluster on Technologies for Living Environments, which is a multidisciplinary partnership involved in the whole development cycle, from innovation through integration, testing, to promotion of products and services. She will share with us their main projects and initiatives that Lombardy Cluster is rolled in. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation. The floor is yours, Cristina.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank Gianni and other organizers for this great opportunity to share our experience and to learn from all of you. So for us, the question is, of course, it's a joke, but home is the new hospital. Surely is the place where would be always more important to care for health and wealth, and the place we're doing the first care. So I'm going to present, to show some of other experience, also focusing on how technologies that are developed for living environments can help to support the implementation of personalized medicine. And according to our version, to our cluster, personalized medicine means to be able to monitor real-time treatment efficacy to support healthcare professionals to personalize treatment. To monitor, so to be able to detect action and interaction of users within their environment and with other people in order to produce smart health real data, and be able to transform conventional environment in smart living world related to user needs. So to be able to customize the environment and finally to tuning and to be adaptive to user needs and so on. So according to this approach, the idea is to addressing the whole life cycle of a person, and addressing also nutrition, lifestyle, and so on. And we have a great focus on rehabilitation because it's important, it's a very important asset to provide the continuum care and monitoring the result of rehabilitation in order to face the management of chronicity according to what is the guidelines of regional and national management plan. We are, the cluster, as I said before, is an aggregation of research hospital, university, research center, companies, a small one, startup or a big one, and also association like the Chamber of Commerce and so on. And so the real value added is this multidisciplinarity and the multi-professional approach with which we face this challenge. So we speak about the technology, but of course the focus is the person, and so we care and we try to develop and innovate technologies in order to support, improve quality of life, of course. So the dimension of the problem or I don't like to say the market, but the people that can be involved in the management of chronicity is really, really huge. And so of course, each project, each product can be really interesting and useful to be shared in order to face this challenge. The first product or prototype that I would like to introduce is NIA, that is developed by one of our clinical center, that is NEMO Clinical Center, that is very maybe the biggest center about the SLA and SMA patients in Italy. They are in 8 regions. And this NIA is a modular software medical device that is able to provide telemonitoring and prediction of possible medical issues to neurodegenerative disease patients. The interesting things is that it is based on artificial intelligence, so that can be a decision support system for physicians, and because can be able to alert for clinical risk, and being based on digital biomarker is able to provide automatic classification of data and the patient status, and is able to create a correlation among clinical data and the constant in which the context in which the patient are living or are stating. And so this is the first product. Now is finalizing the trial, the clinical trial, and so this is one of the first point of possible cooperation for enlarge the clinical trial in other site within an international approach. The same is for this young but very tough startup, Smart Biology. They are developing biosensor and artificial intelligence technologies to enable deep metabolism assessment. And this too is a decision support system for clinicians, and it is interesting because is a non-invasive diagnostics in order to provide metabolic profile, the status of particular organs or the central nervous system and so on. So we can see also application about nutrition science and sport medicine. All of these projects are developed with also university, and this is the approach that the speaker before suggests and we commonly use. So we have a technical researcher, a clinician that define the needs, and companies that develop the project. This is possible also thanks to the opportunity that Regione Lombardia in primis create for us, supporting research and innovation. So I think we can save a bit of time. And another example is created by, in premise from National Council for Research, is a personalized upper limb rehabilitation. The important is a mixed instrument because it's for physical and for physical rehabilitation, but is coupled with a digital interface for rehabilitator so that they're able to monitor the parameters of the patients, the efficacy of the rehabilitation, and in case to modify the exercise. So this is a form of personalized medicine or treatment. And there is also Jimmy, that is our virtual assistant, is an avatar that support the patient to perform the exercise. And of course, in order to make more fun the exercise, we have different scenarios in which the rehabilitation is performed. This is another example is of a mixed gym because it's physical, but also virtual. Can be also available with a social version. So there is the patient on the cyclette, all the parameters are monitored, are collected and analyzed in order to monitor and tuning the following session. So they are going to cycle till the supermarket and then do some action among the space and the virtual supermarket. Similar to that, but different, dedicated to cognitive activities, but also in upper limb rehabilitation is a virtual supermarket. The application use a virtual reality, and also in this situation, we have the collection of the parameters of the people, and so we can monitor and monitor the evolution of the treatment. In particular, the target patient are the one that suffered the trauma related to heart attacks and strokes. Another project that is still going, but I think could be interesting also because we have a strong approach to patient or citizen engagement, but we are also creating an hub. So could be interesting to create a network among also the speaker, the partner of the project Regions for Med and the people that are following this event, is Spatials. Spatials is financed by Regione Lombardia, is a project finalized to create a hub for research, development and innovation in the context of nutrition. And in particular, what we have done is we are doing is to develop functional product, functional food, able to to face to get the to solve the nutritional needs of consumer, but we are not. We are considering peculiar consumer because we are facing about 3 or 4 kind of pathologies. So we are doing clinical trial in 4 clinical center, 4 Lombardy Clinical Center, in order to test the efficacy of this functional food. And this activity is coupled with the development of a decision support system and the development also a virtual environment in which the citizen can get information about the diet, how to integrate food and exercise in order to promote or having a healthier lifestyle. And so this is the approach. Is a very multidisciplinary project, and we have 4 companies that work in this project. So I try to be very very short in order to give space to eventually for question. And the message that I would like to give you, to leave to you, is the importance of the use of technologies to support personalized medicine. And as said before, also the importance of considering in each product the opportunity of doing clinical trials, having time to do that and budget to do that in order to have the result that are so important to be shared and considered in order to understand if it is feasible or not to be adopted from other stakeholders. And so I hope that this little show of experience can have been useful and interesting. For us, it would be really important and interesting to find the opportunity of be in touch for research product, CSA, clinical trials, also for creating collection of best practice in a specific sector of personalized medicine, and of course about cluster cooperation. So thank you all for the opportunity.
Thank you so much for your presentation. There are so many projects going on in the cluster. And I have one question. Is it necessary more involvement of the public institutions to support innovation? Just a tricky question, maybe.
I think that the answer can be yes. Also because we are speaking of innovation in healthcare, and a huge part of healthcare sector is public and is also expensive. But I think it's not only a question of money that are really important to support, of course, innovation and project of for doing research and innovation, but also to support the standardization of the way of creating results in order to be able to compare and to share really the opportunity. So the interesting thing is to cooperate, thanks also to the institutional support in creating a sort of standard way to propose a clinical trial and then to analyze the result in order to get the interest of a huger platea.
So thank you, because the other question that I had, you already answered before in your presentation. So thank you so much for your nice presentation. And I will give the floor, I will present the third speaker of this session, who is Dr. Bradley. Dr. Bradley leads projects with a focus on innovative technologies. He has an academic and industry background in designing, developing, and evaluating novel technologies and experiences. His research interests include the connection between co-design and development and the evaluation of co-design methodologies. Through his work at Digital Health and Care Innovation Center, Dr. Bradley has delivered a number of projects, including nursing records, posture sensing devices, personally owned health and care records, and digital empathy. Thank you so much for your for accepting this invitation. The floor is yours, Dr. Bradley.
Thank you, Anna. Can I check that you can hear me and you can see my screen?
Yes, we see your screen and we hear you perfectly.
Excellent, thank you. So thank you for the opportunity to present today. I'm talking to you from Scotland, from rural Scotland in the north, from an area called Moray, which is very similar, I think, in makeup to Galicia. I'm going to talk a little bit today about the Digital Health and Care Innovation Centre, and in particular about our work in participatory design and in the simulation of new health and care services. So first of all, I'll talk a little bit about what the Digital Health and Care Innovation Centre is. You may hear me refer to it as the DHI because it's a very long term. So it's one of the Scottish Funding Council's innovation centres. The Scottish Government funds several innovation centres which are set up to act as a go-between between academic institutions and industry. And our goal really is to support the transformation of the landscape in Scotland, in this case in health and care. So we're not really focused on small improvements, but transforming the whole way we deliver health and care in Scotland. The DHI is a collaboration between two universities. It's a little bit like any large European project. The University of Strathclyde is the host institution, and the Glasgow School of Art, our partner institution. I'm a research fellow at the Glasgow School of Art. And the DHI is split geographically between Glasgow, which is the largest city in Scotland, and Moray, which is a small region in the north of Scotland, as I say, somewhat similar to Galicia. Now, health and care are devolved services in the UK, so that means Scotland are responsible for a health and care strategy. And NHS Scotland we're a public health body. We're dominated by public health services, similar, I think, to Spain. And NHS Scotland consists of 14 regional health boards, some large, such as Greater Glasgow and Clyde is the largest, and some very small, such as the Western Isles. They're supported by seven special health boards, such as those responsible for national infrastructure of technology and things like that. And also we have Public Health Scotland, which is our public health body. The DHI has been running now for about 8 years, I believe. So I'm going to talk about two things today, the participatory design and simulation of new health services. And this is part of what we call the DHI Exchange. So it's a small part of what the DHI does. We do lots of different projects, and this is just part of it. So in terms of participatory design, we believe that services should be designed by those who are going to be affected, either those who use the service or those who have the service used on their behalf. And we actually think this can be viewed as a democratic right, that you would have a meaningful contribution to the design of any service that you're going to be subjected to or you're going to be using in the future. We take a design-led approach. So, for example, the picture on the left there shows myself and a couple of colleagues working with people living with multiple sclerosis to work out how they would best use person-owned health records. So that's an example of a technology that could transform health and care delivery in Scotland. So in this series of workshops, we actually built backpacks and asked the people what kind of information they would store in their backpack, why they would store it there, what might be publicly shareable from their backpack, what they would get out and share with whom and why. And in this way, we try and build engagement with participants, but also get have them meaningfully understand what the technology could do for them in the future. And on the right-hand side of this slide is an example working with healthcare professionals, looking at moving from paper records in inpatient services. So some of the services in Scotland still use paper records, many of them still do, And this group of professionals were moving from paper-based records through to electronic records. And we use a lot of what we call visual sense making. So trying to listen to what the professionals are saying and try and represent what kind of future they're looking for visually, so it's easily understandable and easily communicable. We use the phrase preferable future for what we're looking for. So this is as opposed to a technical future or an inevitable future. So it's a kind of future that citizens and professionals would prefer to see in Scotland. And I talked about simulation. So at the DHI, we've been doing a lot of projects for a lot of years now. At the last time we reviewed this, it was 52 projects. We've worked with thousands of citizens and around about 1,000 professionals. We've worked with 16 different health boards, 15 charities and 10 social care organisations. And that's growing all the time. And if we look back across all these projects, we see lots and lots of common requirements split up across what citizens say they would like to do, what professionals require. And also we've got sort of common requirements between organisations, so for handling referrals or transition between different groups in Scotland. And just briefly, I'll say these more or less fall into several categories. So the exchange of data, structured data between different organisations, in particular, the exchange of structured data between citizens and healthcare organisations. How we store that data, either in statutory, publicly owned services or in personally held infrastructure. In any kind of public health dominated service, integration with clinical systems, so statutory systems, are going to be very important. We also have several projects looking at knowledge platforms for storing best practice guidelines and things like that. And we also have a lot of requirements around personal health records and what you can do if you own your own personal health records. Now, there are some good examples in Scotland and probably elsewhere of vertical integrations. So we have in Scotland My Diabetes My Way, which is a really good example of citizens being able to share data and two-way messaging, asynchronous digital service. But it is just a vertical, so it's just for diabetes. So what we're trying to do with simulation is design and build horizontal infrastructure. So we go about that through a process of simulation where not only do we design what we'd like from the future service, but the DHI actually commissions that service to be built, to be integrated with the NHS statutory services, and for dummy data to be sent around those services. So simulated services are fully working, they are fully integrated with the NHS, but they are not actual services, no real patient data runs on them. And we commission these services in a fully sort of procurement satisfying way. And if the NHS wishes to procure these services in the future, they will know exactly what it is that they are procuring. So just a few examples of recent projects. This is a new dermatology service, which is digital and asynchronous, allows citizens to send in images and how they're feeling, outcomes, and also have two-way messaging with clinicians. And it integrates with two of the big statutory systems, TrackCare and DocMan. So TrackCare is secondary care, the hospital systems, and DocMan is the primary care, so the general practitioner systems. And since this has been up and running, so this is running in a area similar to Galicia. So this is in the Moray region, NHS Grampian. So this is a remote and rural context. And these kind of services help the remobilization of the NHS after COVID-19, and also cut down a lot on traveling and what is a fairly rural area. Since it's been running, we found that the clinicians have had shorter consultations and patients have been reasonably happy with not having face-to-face appointments. In the second example for COPD, I don't know how well COPD translates, but this is a catch-all term for a series of lung and respiratory diseases. So again, this is a service currently running in Greater Glasgow and Clyde, so the largest health board, the biggest city in Scotland. And again, it's digital asynchronous remote management service involving two-way messaging, and also it can record activity, patient-reported outcomes, and specialist respiratory outcomes. Again, it integrates with statutory care. And this has been a fairly big success during the trials. So we've had a big reduction in admissions for COPD, a big reduction in bed days, and also a big reduction in community respiratory reviews. This is where a healthcare professional would go out into the community to review the patient. And the final example I have is of the National Notification Service. So this is a service to support the Scottish Government's Test and Protect programme. And we ran the participatory design for 3 services at the outbreak of COVID-19, when COVID-19 reached Scotland. And we did the co-design for this, involving all 14 of Scotland's territorial health boards and a few other health boards as well, and obviously with Public Health Scotland. Before the pandemic, Scotland did not have a single notification service for test results. So we designed and we also built this as a simulated service, and the Scottish Government, through NHS Scotland, decided to procure this system. So this was a simulation that went straight through to procurement. And this went from the first day where the problem was raised in Scotland to an actual working service within 41 days. Also, there was a couple of other services developed at the same time as this, contact tracing services, and also the ability for citizens to contribute their own contacts. And this is now used in 11 health boards at the moment, and around 64% of contact tracing in Scotland is done through this channel, which is a big change for Scotland and shows a really good example of citizens contributing data into healthcare services. And finally, I'd like to say what we're moving on to in future through some future funding. We're looking at living labs, which I know some people have talked about earlier in the day. So what we should have in future is a participatory design, making sure that we are meeting citizens and professionals' unmet needs. We should have a simulation, which is ensuring that services are developed correctly, they work and they integrate well with statutory systems. And the living labs will give us an opportunity to run these services with real citizens for a short period of time, maybe 6 months, to demonstrate the efficacy and satisfaction as well. So that's all from me today. I would say that all of these services we run hosted in the NHS, but we also host test services, and we'd be very happy for people to get in touch, either through funding bids or informally get in touch and ask how you can use some of these services. They're all sandboxed, and we'd be delighted to hear from anybody about collaborating together. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Bradley. It's a pleasure to have you here and to present all the Scottish related research projects that you are rolling. So we have one question in Slido. How difficult was to organize all health aspects in Scotland? I mean, the demography, per population, it was difficult, I suppose.
So it's definitely it's a challenging situation in Scotland. We're primarily public health, which makes things somewhat easier. We're dealing with a small number of organisations. What does make it difficult is splitting up into regions, competitive regions as well. So in the past, we've seen a lot of difference in healthcare provision based on where you live in the country. But we're trying to, our simulated services are mostly national services, or we're trying to make them national services. We normally develop them in collaboration with one or more boards, and then we try and, through our demonstration activities, spread them and scale them across Scotland. We did have a big problem in the early days of the DHI with our findings and innovative services just not scaling very well at all. And that's why we moved to the idea of simulation, where we could build the services, demonstrate that they do work, and therefore we could de-risk for procurement. So we take these simulated services and we show them to policymakers, to the Scottish Government, to funding organisations, and say not only is it meeting unmet needs, and we can demonstrate that through through a participatory design, but we also show it works. Industry has developed it, and it integrates well with the statutory systems. So hopefully it makes procurement very, very simple. And we've begun to have some success with that model, and that's the kind of model we're going to carry on with.
Thank you. And another one, related to the data of the patients, how was the collection of the data of the patients of your some of the projects that you have presented? It was tricky.
Yeah, so for simulation, all of our services use dummy data. So we don't use any real data in our services. All of the infrastructure that we have procured or had built by industry is also installed in one of the NHS regions. So in NHS Greater Glasgow and Clyde, and they handle all of the storing of citizens' data. We are strongly pushing the idea that citizens should own their own health data, and that means that the citizen can act as the point of integration. So this helps avoid a lot of work on behalf of the healthcare organisations and the social care organisations, which are two distinct organisations in Scotland. So there's a real difficulty in sharing data across the healthcare and the social care aspects. So we're pushing the idea that if the citizen owns their data and goes through a consent model to provide sharing to the social care organisations and the healthcare organisations, that can be a good way of sharing data between different organisations.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for your answers. I think we have only 20 minutes left, so now is time to give the floor to our coordinator and the rest of the partners to give their conclusions, and if they have any question left or any last question to our speakers, it's a good time to use this session. For conclusions, I think one of the main questions is, what are the main conclusions and inputs that you have taken from this event? And do you think that you will use some of these initiatives in your regional healthcare system? So, Gianni, as the coordinator, I think you will be the first one to. The floor is yours.
Sorry. Well, first of all, I need to thank all the speakers for the content and the experience, the expertise that they have shared with us today. We kind of knew how much the regions can support innovation in healthcare in general and on personalized medicine specifically. But these examples have given us a lot of content to build up the next phase of Regions for PerMed. When you say whether or not we are going to take some of these great examples and apply at the regional level, although I'm the coordinator of Regions for PerMed, we do not directly come from a regional authority, although we are connected and we are linked to the Tuscany region. So, of course, we will transfer this to our regions, and we will try to update and modernize the initiatives that they already have in this context. But for what concerns Regions for PerMed, the outreach that we want to have is much broader. Not only the regions where we belong, but all these contents, all these inputs that have been provided to us now have to be implemented in a report. And this report will contain recommendation, and this will be spread out through all the European regions which are within our network, and also to European Commission. So while the conversation were going on, I already sketched a couple of thoughts on how we can proceed and how we can draft this report. And I'm pretty sure that we will have to go back to all the speakers, because I also want them to edit and write and also integrate what we are going to share, because I don't want to lose any single message of the important initiatives that have been shared with us. So this is what we are going to do, and it will be also great, but also here I need to also to have the engagement of Asis as coordinator of this task. It would be also great if we could gather all this content, the content that we have gathered in the conference in a policy paper and try to submit also to a scientific journal, because this will give credibility to all these initiatives and all these messages that we have gathered in a comprehensive way. So this is what we will try to do, and this is what we will try to make out of the effort of the speakers that have taken half day to be with us today.
Thank you, Gianni. Please, to the rest of the partners, please connect your cameras. Paola, I think is not sweet. So, yes. So, Dorota or Paola, do you want to follow the conclusions?
Okay. Hi. Hello. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So, like Jenny, I want to really thank you for the really interesting session. And if we're talking about the conclusion and the outputs from this event, in Poland, there is really important to foster the knowledge management and between the public health policymakers and the physician, because it is really important. And right now in my work, I'm working as a clinical research coordinator, and in one of my projects, we are also trying to do academic CAR-T. So it was really important for me to hear about the experience of Mariana, because in Poland there is such a big administrative problems, and they are blighting whole process, and we are just have such many guidelines, and I hope that maybe thanks to such a discussion, we can speed the process and find some solution. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dorota. And Paola?
Yes. So first of all, I also want to thank you also on behalf of my colleagues here at the region for the different contribution. It has been an extremely interesting event. I would say that today we listened to different presentations from different perspectives. Obviously, there will be a follow-up, and we will study in depth what has been discussed today. I guess that's for us region, but also for other regions. The challenge is to learn from the others and try to tweak different experiences to the regional or the national context, because definitely we'll need to take into consideration the differences, but it's in events like these that we really can see what other realities are doing, what is the impact, and we can try to import it to our territory and to learn from it. So I'm really thankful for this event, and even on behalf of my colleagues, thank you for giving us the opportunity also to explain what we are doing.
Thank you so much, Paola. And Eva, your conclusions?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Good. Okay, first of all, I would also like to say a big thank you to everyone for all this interesting information. So my conclusions, I mean, actually it was so multifaceted, so we have touched so many aspects. I think what Paola just said last, and actually it really connects to what Gianni has said, is that we need interregional learning, that we need to further advance interregional learning in a very continuous and steady way, I think, because it's not possible to say after one workshop, what policy would you integrate in your region? Will you integrate this? Because policy processes take quite a while. We have different conditions in the regions. we have a different level of digitalization in healthcare across Europe, and Germany is not really leading there, for instance, and a German region cannot do it on its own, for instance, because it's embedded in a national system. Yeah, so you cannot just develop something regionally here. So it's a bit complex, and I think policy development needs to take this into account. And for that reason, I think it is very important to have a guided and continuing process that allows regional knowledge exchange, taking into account those different levels and different, how do you say this, different policy structures in the different regions, but at the same time really sharing models, sharing innovation tools like public procurement, for instance. I thought this was really, really interesting today. And also already showing the lessons learned, like Paola said, it's an ongoing project that's improving itself. So I think for regions that start with this later, it would be good to just profit from the learnings of other regions and to really collect this kind of information and make it accessible. I think this is very important, and it's very important to have something that is doing this in a continuous way and not just in a time-limited project that really is it's being built up and it can spread some information. It's very good to have reports and published documentation. I think that's essential for passing anything on and for allowing learning or cross-regional learning, but I think it's very important to have a platform for inter-regional exchange in the long run for these topics. I think these platforms partially exist, but maybe they need to be more open. Yeah. I don't know, that's what I took from today.
Me too, I think the same. So thank you for your conclusions, and your conclusions, Jose?
Yes, well, first of all, I would like to thank all the partners that they joined us today, because, well, this is the last dissemination event that we have in our thematic area, so it's a pleasure, of course, to have all of them on board. I was writing the task from Gianni about the scientific paper that for sure we will do it, and of course to Dorota, that we will put you in contact with the teams of Mariona to deepen in knowledge and exchanging what they are doing. And well, I first of all, before saying my conclusions, I would like to thank all the speakers that they were not only during the conference, also not only during the workshop of today, but also in the conference. We could see what regions and other countries, European countries, they are doing in all Europe as related with public procurement, with research and development models, also about living labs, well, in general, all things related with personalized medicine. And I would like to remark also the commitment of the Galician Health Service as regards personalized medicine. It was described during the conference and also today during the workshop. For instance, the project of Mariona about the CAR-T production, but not only this, also public procurement and innovation projects such as Código 100 and the two new initiatives that we have running right now. Also, it's important to mention that as regards the Galician network of health living labs, that last week it was the event with the signature of the 6 projects with the 6 companies that they are going to run the first living lab of, in this case, the Hospital of Ourense of the network. And I would not like to forget, because of course, for sure, I will forget many of projects and people that they are working on personalized medicine in Galicia. But I would like also to address and to make the attention that Galicia has since from 20 years ago a public foundation of genomic medicine that is led by Dr. Carracedo, and that is a pleasure that we have it on board on the Galician Health Service and with all the contributions that they are doing. I think it was just a very brief summary and conclusions of the 2 days, of the 2 events, workshop and conference.
I think Eva wants to say something. Do you? Because I thought you were raising your hand. So.
Yes, I think we have time to discuss tomorrow, and I think we will keep it for that.
Okay, okay, sure. Thank you. So I think there is anything else. There's no questions, but I want to conclude, and I want to say thank you to our speakers to this day, to the workshop and the conference, and give the floor to Jose.
Well, before closing the session, I don't know if Gianni, as project coordinator, he wants to say a few words for a next step of the Region for Permit project, because I know that we have on the 1st of December the policy event that he already presented, and that maybe is good to the audience. That
well, yes, we have this event at the European Parliament. Although yesterday evening I have received alarming news from some restriction applying, so I will just dig in. If it's not December, we are anyway having this conference at the European Parliament, because one of the aspects that I'm bringing with me after this conference is that the kind of innovation that the multifaceted innovation forms that regions are enabling in their territories have to be reflected also in the next in the forthcoming partnership on personalized medicine, and we need to find a way to synthesize and to give to the International Consortium on ICPermed this kind of information, this kind of inputs, because they have to be part of the next initiatives on personalized medicine. This is something that we will also face at the conference of the European Parliament, hopefully on the 1st of December. If you are in Brussels, you can join in person. Otherwise, it will be broadcasted. If some measures, travel restriction apply, we will postpone and let you know when it's going to happen. But this is also one of the tasks that as a Regions for Permed we have given to each other, to ourselves, sorry, to bring the regional innovation forms into the next partnership on personalized medicine. There will be documents that we will be releasing together with the ICPermed or as a Regions for Permed. So please have always a look at our website to be updated on what's coming up for regions and how to further support regional innovation in health and specifically on personalized medicine. And I have thanked the speakers, but I would like also to thank you personally, Jose and Anna, and the ASIS and the Galicia region for your support through this fourth challenge of Regions for Permed. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Gianni, for your kind words. And well, we close the thematic area and we close the workshop, and of course we will keep you updated through the social networks of the Region for Permed project, of ASIS as well, and the project website. Thank you very much.
Thank you.